like to call this meeting, the Town Commission, April 14th, 2026. Can you please stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you want to call the roll?
Mayor Burrill?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Here.
Commissioner Finder?
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay. Can you read that the proclamation? Oh, first we have the Officer of the Year award. Officer of the Year award. Can you make this thing louder? Crank it up. I could scream it. I don't have a voice for it.
Go ahead and start.
Test, 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 test. Well, I got to put it in my mouth just about.
A little more.
Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. That's good. Okay. Another one. Okay, we have a proclamation that should be read into the record. At this point.
Presentation first. The presentation. Officer of the
Oh, Officer of the Year award? Okay. We'll do that first.
Chief?
Chief, come on up.
Good evening. Officer DeBlaker has served the Sewell Point Police Department since March of 2024. In a relatively short time, he's demonstrated exceptional dedication to the professional growth and operational excellence. He's completed more than 62 hours of specialized technical training, including speed measurement, breath test operator, and field training officer instruction. In addition, he's currently pursuing his associate's degree, further evidence of his commitment to both personal and professional development. Last year, Officer DeBlaker led a complex investigation into a fleeing eluding that exemplified diligence and perseverance. He conducted an extensive investigation, executed search warrants, submitted critical evidence to the crime lab, and ultimately secured an arrest warrant. His thorough casework directly resulted in the suspect's arrest and successful prosecution. This case reflects not only his investigative skill, but also his determination to see justice carried through to completion. Beyond his investigative accomplishments, Officer DeBlaker consistently demonstrates leadership and initiative within our agency. He serves as a mentor to newer members of the department, and I've personally observed him taking initiative, assisting others with their cases and departmental procedures. He's proactive in offering thoughtful recommendation to improve operations and enhance service to our community. He organizes voluntary range days during his off-duty time to practice skills with fellow officers. His work ethic and willingness to step forward embody the spirit of service that defines our profession. Equally important is his connection to our community. Officer DeBlaker is building strong, positive relationships within the community of Sewell's Point. During patrol, he frequently engages with families and even purchased little stickers and small handouts to share with the children. Simple gestures that help foster trust and goodwill between law enforcement and the community we serve. Officer DeBlaker has expressed a long-term commitment to the department and takes pride in communicating with supervisors about the needs of our town. His dedication, professionalism, and character reflect the very best of our agency. So instead, I'd like to congratulate him. It's a little belated. We've had some delays with vacations and such, but this is definitely a well-earned deserve. Talking today, and Josh said he was desperate to say a few words.
Want to borrow my mic?
Well, absolutely. I'd like to thank you, Chief. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate your giving me the opportunity to work here. I really enjoy this place. I've spoken to many of you up there, and probably a bunch of you back here as well. So mostly on good terms, but I appreciate this, and I look forward to hanging out here and working with you guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, can we get one quick picture over here? Get him with his, face this way here. We got the commission in the background.
Okay. Congratulations. Okay, now I'd like to have the proclamation read into the record for the National Donate Life Month.
Before the mayor of the town of Sewell's Point, Martin County, Florida, National Donate Life Month proclamation. Whereas one of the most meaningful gifts that a human being can bestow upon another is the gift of life. And whereas over 105,000 men, women, and children are currently on the national waiting list for organ transplantation, of which over 6,000 reside in Florida. And whereas 49,065, a historic number of organ transplants, occurred in the calendar year 2025 in the United States, thanks to the generosity of 23,787 deceased and living donors, of which LifeLink of Florida honored more donors than ever before, serving 360 organ donors who provided 995 life-saving transplants to patients in need. And whereas more than 10 million Floridians have already registered their decision to give the gift of life through organ and tissue donation at www.donatelifeflorida.org or on their driver's license. And whereas LifeLink of Florida, the nonprofit organization dedicated to the recovery of organs and tissue for transplantation therapy in Florida, with a mission to honor donors and save lives through organ and tissue donations. Now therefore, I, Vinnie Burrill, Mayor of the town of Sewell's Point, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Donate Life Month in the town of Sewell's Point and encourage all residents to consider leaving an infinite legacy through organ donation and to sign up at www.mystorycontinues.com or when renewing their driver's license or state identification card, dated this 14th day of April 2026.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now we go to public comments not on the agenda. So let's start with Don Allen.
Hi, this is mainly, I don't know, I know Vinny and I know Frank, and I don't know anybody else, and it's nice to meet you. I've actually been here, my family, for 33 years, and have never really had to come to the town hall except to get a sticker for the car, or never had any complaints. Well, it's changed dramatically in the last year. We've had construction behind us. I have an 88-year-old mother there right now, and she won't even go out in the backyard. It's been about a year. April, they built a fence, and I sent you all packets, and you can see that fence. They cut every tree down in that yard in the back, and then they built the fence, and then they filled in there and built a deck that's up approximately 4 feet high. So in the pictures, you can see people's heads walking by. You're sitting at the pool, and you can actually see people walking by. They have 2 dogs that they let out at 4:30 in the morning, let them bark, I mean, continuously, you know, and everybody says, well, you can call the police. The police have one thing, and I'm not bad-mouthing them, but they tell you that, well, it will bring a meter over or something. Well, come on, pal, you know, don't let somebody 4:30 in the morning is out of the question. They're barking constantly during the day. The kids are screaming. He plays basketball. They have a basketball net. Now, this is hollow underneath except where they filled, and then they put a screen like one of these, the white, what do they call it?
Lattice?
That's lattice. And they put that, you know, up front. You can actually see it in one of the pictures, the lattice with the deck. They filled in that whole area, and it is up. If you look, it's 4 stairs up. It's probably 3 to 4 feet high. So the fence that they put in doesn't cover. These people are walking by. Then they have a basketball net there that every day anybody walks outside, they're playing basketball. The one kid and the guy that owns the house, the father, sitting there banging that ball and knowing that that's making noise. You know, I can hear it in my kitchen. You can hear it everywhere in the house. So I'm hoping that you can look into this, because I've spoken to the building at the beginning. He's worthless. And I've spoken to the town manager. At first I thought he was a good guy and he was going to look into things. Well, it's a year. So now we're going to go to a step further than this. Hopefully not. Hopefully you guys, any questions at all, commissioners, not we're done with you. Any questions, please give me a call. I would love to speak to you with any, and I've got a lot more pictures. I'm putting a security system in now that will go and completely go around that whole back. So 4:30 in the morning now, I won't have to tell you that. I can show it to you with the time. Same with this basketball thing. I've had enough. And I feel sorry for my mom. I'm taking her to a heart doctor now because of this. So hopefully, commissioners, hopefully I'll hear from you. Thanks, Frank. Frank's helped me out quite a bit.
Okay, next we have Alan DeRosa.
On February 10th, I was here and spoke at the commissioners' meeting about the North Sewell's Point retention lot, which had recently been cleared of all vegetation. My concern that I relayed to you is that the vegetation acts as a filter for the stormwater coming through the retention lot. So what I was looking for is replanting of vegetation. At the mayor's suggestion, I met with Bob Daniels and Joe Capra. And at the meeting, Joe asked that maybe I want to take a look at the stormwater retention lot in South Sewell's Point, the new one. Although that looks magnificent, that's an overkill, and it's much more, the design is much more than would be necessary for North Sewell's Point. So after I reviewed that, I sent the email to Daniels and Capra stating that I think this design is a little too much, especially on what it would cost and how long it would take to build. After getting, that was February 15th, I sent the email. After getting no response, 6 weeks later, on March 26th, I sent another email to Mr. Daniels and Mr. Capra requesting that I meet with them so we can discuss this and develop plans and an estimate for what this might cost to put in the vegetation. At this point, as of today, 2 months later, after this was started, I have not heard from anybody about this. And in closing my remarks, I'd just like to ask the commissioners, what's your expectation when there's an issue brought up by a resident for the town staff to respond? I think 2 months would be sufficient. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Sean Kolb.
Hi, I live at 126 South Sewell's Point Road. Across the street from me, the electricity went out on Saturday because the electrical box that's in the ground that's concrete was crushed by the construction crews. And FP&L came out and they put a temporary fix in, which includes live electrical wires laying on the ground in the grass in Glenn's front yard with just a little bit of a yellow caution tape on it. On Monday, the construction crews came and put one of those brown barriers on it. They're still laying on the ground to this day, so it's now 4 days. My second issue is the construction crews obviously have made a mess of the river. I think you all are aware of that, especially the town manager. They've been pumping water into my neighbor's yard in the back where it comes out into the river, and it's muddy as hell. it would seem to me that someone should care enough to do testing of the river water. It would seem to me that you would care about the river that surrounds this peninsula. My mother was a county commissioner in Broward County. She protected Broward County, protected the environment. It would seem to me that that would be the primary concern of you guys as commissioners, to protect the nature, the surroundings of what makes this place beautiful. I don't know why we didn't do testing of the river when it was brought to the attention of the town manager. It doesn't cost the town anything because the construction company should do it, because they're the ones who are pumping the water. And lastly, you should know, and I know I've come to the town hall to complain about this before, which is this construction crew runs their generators all night long trying to pump water out. And I know for a fact that they pump it into the storm drains, which go right into the river. I don't believe that's legal for them to do. And somebody should do something about it. And I assume it's somebody here. Unless you don't care about the environment, the birds, the manatees, you know, the quality of life of the residents in this town. That's all.
Next, we have Cindy Lucas.
So I'm here again. I've been doing this since 22. I'm going to submit the pictures, that were taken last week during the storm, okay? I'm done. All that money that you put aside, there's nothing going on my property since 2022. I am the drainage for the whole neighborhood now. Yes, it's coming in, it's coming in from all the neighbors now. So Joe Capra, who's a friend, his brother renovated my house, is saying that you're going to run the pipes or you're going to do a swale from the top of the hill. Really? Do you honestly think that that's going to fix it? Have you seen the back of my yard? I'm sending the pictures away. Let me explain. When this first happened, All Florida Trees came in and gave us a $33,000, 500, whatever, thousand to fix the property correctly. I came down here and asked if I could bring the fill in. I was told, no. Oh, no, that's not allowed. Really? Okay. Then, on 5/19/22, okay? Then on 3/14, and then I go into 24, 25, 26, more pictures. Then I have, let me see. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and nobody gives a shit. Really. A couple people came and looked at my property. Who came and looked at my property? How did you look at the property? You've never been on my property.
Me?
Yeah.
I've met Joe Capra at your property. You weren't there.
Okay, that's fine. Do you see the pictures? You think I'm lying? Why would you do this? And now you have them coming to do the sewers. I mean, that's a joke. They're out on the corner of my property, not the right-of-way, and they're digging holes. So I don't have any sprinklers. You've never corrected that problem. You had the nerve to send that Serafini, who I think is rude, and he works for the town. Get a new lawn service, please. The man is not a good man. You've destroyed my sprinklers. I had to put in sod. It's disgusting. What are you going to do? Got a lawyer? Marco Rubio wrote a letter. Brian Mass wrote a letter. I guess I have to get a lawyer because you're not doing anything. So if you want to talk to me, you can call me on my phone or come over to my house and see the swamp that I live in.
James Robinson.
James Robinson, 2 Baku Street. The project that is occurring right now has paving down Sewell's Point Road and also on Oakwood. The paving is going to go up Baku Street only about a third, and then it stops. I'm just wondering why we can't get the other maybe 80 feet paved while they have all the equipment there, instead of stopping short and having some kind of transition between old pavement and new pavement.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, well, that'll become, yeah, okay. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have a comment. I had, I'd sent an email to both you, Mayor Burrell, and to Mr. Daniels requesting that the whole dewatering issue and the pumping into the Indian River Lagoon be put on the agenda. It's not under new business, it's under commissioner comments. Just curious in terms of why it's there as opposed to not under new business.
It looks like it's under discussion, not that that is new business.
Okay, it's under discussion, I stand corrected. But it's not an agenda item on the agenda as to why.
No, it is on the agenda. It's up on your screen if you need to see it.
Yeah, I see it, under discussion, as opposed to a business item for all of us to discuss.
I guess I don't look at them as much different. I think of the business items as more things that we have thought about ahead of time to vote on.
Really. So,
I'm just offering suggestions.
Yeah, that's how I see it
That's how
as
I look
well.
at it.
I would have liked it to be under new business.
Why don't you make a motion?
Yeah.
I move that it be put under new business then.
I second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and we have a second. Have any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell,
Yes,
motion passes.
okay.
Guess that's item F.
Item F.
Okay, I need an approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, now we go to action items. You need an approval of the consent agenda. You have a motion for the, oh,
I'll make a
Mr.
motion.
I'll second.
Do you want to make a comment?
Discussion. I'd like to pull item D on the consent agenda, and I would also like to pull item E on the consent agenda, and item F, which basically is the insurance program for 76 or 78 South Sewell's Point Road, approval of the change orders for Cheatham, and also budget calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through C and D, E, F both.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
We had an original motion.
I don't, who made the
I
motion?
think we need a regular motion for that.
Oh, yeah, it was discussion,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so whoever made it needs to amend it.
I'll withdraw the motion from the original. So we need,
Now, if we can do a new motion
So
with
now
the,
Yeah, we have a motion, we have a second.
Okay, so now I got to do it again? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda A through C, removing D, E, F.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second again. Do I have any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Finder?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now going to old business, the town attorney.
So,
I don't know where this
Point
is.
of order.
Wait, we got to talk about the item.
Okay, talk about the items that are pulled.
You just called old business. I think we're talking about the consent agenda
Okay.
changes, right?
We should
You
be,
pulled some things out of.
right.
Let's go in the order you would like.
Well, is the order that they appear on the arrangements. The first thing, the reason I wanted wanted the rate flood insurance renewal pulled off of 78 South Sewell's Point was I had some questions. Okay, number one, were any other quotes received?
At this time, no other quotes were received. However, the rates have not increased. This is the same contract and the price that the town has paid the last 3 years.
Okay, so it's $12,000 for a building valued at $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes,
It is-
that's what it says in the documentation.
Right. Okay. I would appreciate it if we would go and at least see if there is anybody out there that is offering a lower rate for the insurance. I think we ought, our policy for contracts says that we ought to try and solicit 3 bids. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Expires May 20th, so we have.
We have time.
No, I think we need to, I don't know if there's any due diligence that can be done ahead of time, because the price you spent on a bid process, and you're going to end up, is it likely? I don't know how that works, but are you likely to get a lower quote? Or is it, talk to the current agent, see like, is this as good as it's going to get? Because you're going to spend money on the bid process, and if you end up using the same, then you've just, you know what I mean?
I hear you, but as I explained to Mr. Daniels and Ms. Pierce earlier, when I solicit an insurance quote for my home, and the agent comes back with a number, and I say, what are the other options out there? They'll usually go and they'll say, well, Company A, Company B, Company C are offering this. These are the coverages. If you do this, you can lower it by X, or it's going to cost you more. And all I'm asking is, did we go through that same process in a town? And if we didn't, we should.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood, because you're talking like working through your agent to get the best price. I thought you meant like putting it out to bid.
No, I'm
through like a
sorry.
different agent or something.
I stand corrected. They ought to go back to this agency or another agency and say, what can we get it for?
Mr. Mayor? Since we do have time, I have no problem with going ahead and going through that and getting that information, even though it didn't increase from year to year, but at least that way everybody feels that we've got the best deal. And I'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Next meeting?
Okay, thank you.
One more question about this. To make this change, if we were to make a change, do we have to go out to bid, or can you just take?
No, we don't have to go out to
No,
bid.
just talking to the agent.
I'm saying, if you didn't use that agent, would you have to go out to bid?
I don't believe so, because it's a renewal, so we already have a relationship, and
I'm just saying, I know
But-
other insurance agents that would probably give a competitive quote if that wasn't required bid process.
I think he's talking about putting it out to a different agency's bid? Do you have to
That's
put
my
it out to
question.
bid to go to
If we-
different
Yeah, if
agents?
you
Talk
change
to the agency,
agents.
Would we have to go out to bid?
I can get quotes, is that
Yeah.
better? Because
Yeah.
that way we know, and we can mix apples to apples, but if
And-
we're going to go out to a bid process, we're not going to
I'd
make
rather
it in
not.
time.
That's why I'm asking.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So no approval of that, correct?
Correct. If you all can table it to the next meeting,
Yeah.
I'll have some answers for you, hopefully.
we were presented with 7 change orders for Cheatham that net out to $129,550. And in my discussions with the town manager, and in my experience in building projects, and I've had some experience, limited, but Change orders usually, I look at Mr. Daniels as being the owner's rep and the citizens of this town being the owners of the project. And so the owner's rep should be consulted about any change orders and prior to them being done. These 7 change orders have been completed, and now they're asking for us to reimburse Cheatham, which is not, I don't believe, is the proper way that this should have been done. So I'd like to know who approved the change orders before they were made. Somewhere in the chain, the town has engaged Capra to manage the project, Captech to manage the project. They've also engaged Culpeper and Tupperning to manage the manager to make sure that it is billed according to the specs. And then we have a town manager. And there's a construction meeting that takes place every other week to where any change orders should have been discussed prior to them being implemented. So when I go down and take a look at these change orders, okay, one of them was clean the collapsed sewer under Ridgeview Road. I don't have a problem with that. That obviously needed to be done. The second one was structure manhole adjustments. And then it lists 3 locations where there are manholes in the town for $6,300. If that had to be done, not a problem. Item 3 was remove pavers from 2 Cranes Nest and 78 Sewell's Point Road driveway and palletize them for a total cost of $20,000. That should have been in the original specs. I mean, you knew it was going to happen. You knew that you're going to be tearing up everybody's driveway. They tore up my driveway and they put the pavers back down. Why wasn't it done that way for my neighbor on Crane's Nest and also 78 South Sewell's Point? Item number 4 is an 8-inch driveway with wire welded wire at 78 South, 8-inch concrete driveway with wire welded. And I think it's pretty interesting. We pride ourselves, our town, on being environmentally conscious. And we went through and we passed an ordinance about a year and a half ago encouraging permeable structures, and here we're putting in a concrete driveway. But anyway, this also should have been thought about in advance and spec'd out by Captech in the job, and it shouldn't be a change order. I don't believe it should be a change order. Then you have additional work at 78 South Sewell's Point Road to where we're putting a cover over the storm or the outfall for $36,887. Also, once again, should have been thought about by whoever spec'd out the job, as opposed to whoops. And then we have item 6 is an irrigation allowance of $11,976 for the irrigation work associated with 78 South Sewell's Point Road. And it's for the landscaping around the portion that the town is going to continue to own and is going to continue to have to maintain. And then item 7 is additional costs for saw palmetto plants of $13,236. So somewhere along the line, when we said this is going to be a flagpole piece of property and we were going to retain this one lot for stormwater retention, the question was what was spec'd for the stormwater retention, what was the budget that was provided to the landscaper who did the work, or at least the person who did the outline of, yeah, we're going to need saw palmettos, we're going to need this and that type of plant. You have a couple things, okay. What does the contract with Cheatham say regarding change orders? And then 2, as I mentioned, a lot of this should have been included in the original specs. In terms of the landscaping and the irrigation, who approved the landscaping plan? And what is the projected annual maintenance cost to the town for maintaining that. I mean, I just heard Mr. DeRosa make a comment, well, I heard two citizens make a comment about Mr. Serafino. There's an island there. Somebody is going to have to turn around and wade through that water in order to trim the stuff on that island. And what's that going to be billed to us? So I just want some answers on these change orders. And what happens if we don't approve items 3 through 7?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to call Marcelo up. He's from Culpeper and Turpinning. And to go through the order, CapTech Engineering is the design engineer for the project. Marcelo represents Culpeper and Turpinning, and their structure, they monitor everything that occurs to make sure it meets the design criteria. And if there's a conflict, he works it out with Mr. Capra on the conflict for the design versus what's there. Our streets and the equipment that they come across as they're trying to install new outfall lines, new water lines, new sewer lines, and then do the pavement and the curbing, has a lot of structures in it that aren't on any records. And so a lot of this was designing it as they went along. So, but I'll have Marcelo address that, but I did want to let you know, in your business and private industry, it's a little bit different. In public industry, I would have to hold the whole job up until you all can meet, because I'm only authorized to approve 10,000. And I know some of these items are less than 10,000, but I can't face an auditor and say, okay, well, this item's 9,000, this item's 6,000, I could have approved it, but that makes it 15,000, and it's over my threshold. So I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. So, but as to the process, and I asked Marcelo here tonight because I knew that you had some questions, and Marcelo is the one that reviews the change orders, but we also need to move the project along. And so, if you don't mind addressing that process.
Yes.
Thank you.
So as was said, this project has to be completed in a certain time frame, or the grant money gets forfeited. So we don't really have time on these change orders to get everything together and tell the contractor not to proceed with work and come in here and get approval, because that would be a pretty significant delay every time. So we, as the project team, review the change orders. Everything's reviewed, and the pricing's reviewed. It meets. It's within FDOT historical guidelines. It's within other guidelines on other projects that we've done. So we're very comfortable with the pricing. And then we, of course, tell them to proceed, but it doesn't actually get put on paper until this point here. But again, if we waited, there'd be significant delays, grant issues, as well as claims from the contractor for delays for crew idle time and other things. Not on all of these, but on some of these items, like utility conflict items. So that's the timeline issue. As far as the design, I mean, I think everything, there was revisions being done as the project proceeded, so not everything in the original plans got built out due to field conditions or other changes, inability to get certain easements possibly, made it necessary to make changes during the work instead of all on the plan sheets up front. So that's why, certain things weren't in the design. The design changed because it had to, due to field conditions or due to other factors. So,
And if
if
I
you have
may,
specific questions, I can answer them for you.
well, that's fine. If you have questions of Marcelo?
I do, yeah. So, couple things, okay. The driveway on 78 South Sewell's Point, I mean, that was known that there was an outfall behind the house, and that we were going to have to drive a truck down that driveway in order to pump out that outfall. Am I correct or not?
That's correct.
Okay.
So
So
originally, there was a 6-inch standard concrete driveway designed for that area, but it was then decided that it would be better to have a stronger driveway because of the trucks that would be going down there, and that's why that change was made.
So the 2 extra inches of concrete cost us $63,000.
No, there's also work that wasn't done on the original driveway, so that's getting credited out. You know, that's not being paid for under the contract, so the net is the net is going to be closer to, 15 or 20,000 probably.
And then in terms of who did the landscaping design?
Okay, the landscaping design at the 78 address was done by one of the sub-consultants to the designer, and they suggested some changes when they came out in the field and saw what it all looked like.
Were they given a budget?
We did save money on some other landscaping items. And
That's
again,
not what I asked you, Mr. Marcello.
I don't know the answer to that question. I wasn't really personally involved in the change.
I can answer it. There were actual bids that were taken in for the landscaping that was there. And there was a designer by Mr. Flaw, and who's well-known in our community as being an architectural landscape designer. And that's what we followed for the process.
So there was a budget when these bids were put out?
Yes.
Okay, so this has come in well in excess of that budget.
Well, I think the saw palmettos, which were added, is around the STA, stormwater treatment area, I think is what sent us over on that one. And Marcelo, do you?
Yeah,
remember?
Irrigation,
There's
$11,000.
also savings in the contract. They're not shown on this change order. It's shown on the final pay request.
Right, I said,
Yeah.
I started off by saying, Marcelo, this was $129,000 net.
Right, and overall, I mean, we ended up on this project at about 1.5% on change orders, which is a small amount considering all the underground work that went on. Typically, it's in the range of 10%. I mean, we'd rather have none, but that's not realistic in these conditions.
So, am I to understand then that the final authority on approving change orders is the representative from Culpeper and Turpinning?
No, this commission is the final authority. So technically, if you didn't want to approve the change order, then, we'd be held in default by the contractor, and it would go into litigation.
Yeah, we were fortunate that the contractor worked with us and proceeded without signed change orders. Otherwise, they'd still be working right now, and we exceeded
And the
our
deadline
our
was
grant
this
time would have been blown.
March 31st.
But luckily, they worked with us and forged ahead on good faith.
I would respectfully submit to you that the commission is not the final authority if it's coming to us after the fact.
I think there's contextual construct
Mayor.
here based on timelines.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that I am in support of how we're doing it. These projects are disruptive and unpleasant while they're getting done, and I believe they're very important for our long-term resiliency, for the future of this town, for current residents, future residents, and I appreciate your attention to detail, but I remember in our other projects, there were change orders too. It seems like this is kind of what happens when you do projects, and I'm actually grateful it's happening and that they're working together, and it seems reasonable given the cost, so I would say we could move on. Or I'll make a motion to approve the change orders. Approval of change order number 2, J.W. Cheatham, Phase 3, HMGP.
Okay, we have a motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Nothing? Okay, I want to call it.
Thank you, Marcel.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
No.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Pender?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
No.
Motion passes
3-2.
3-2.
Okay. What was your last question, Frank?
Yep, okay. The last item is the town budget calendar. And on August 11th, on this budget calendar, we have that the commission will have a meeting and a budget workshop. And the way we've done it in the past is that, there's an hour devoted to the budget, and then there's a meeting. And the budget has historically been 27 pages or longer, and doesn't really provide sufficient time, I think, for input by either the commissioners or the residents of the town. And so I'd like to suggest that we do a budget workshop on either August 8th or August 15th, which is a Saturday. Do it on a Saturday morning so it's convenient for the citizens of the town to come and analyze this budget and weigh in on it in depth. I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second, but I would like to discuss too.
Okay.
So you're saying, so the second meeting in August is town manager, when is, that is August, Mariah, do you know? I just want to make sure I get my dates right.
Let me pull up the calendar.
Wait.
It's August 11th.
There's only one in August, okay. So, yes, I'm supportive of a workshop to discuss the budget in more detail, if that is what my fellow commissioner desires. I don't have my calendar of important dates, but I don't think a Saturday will be...
Our meeting's on the 11th.
Okay, that's fine. Either Saturday is fine. I also wanted to add April 14th, which I believe is today. It's written down on here that we're having a preliminary budget discussion, preliminary capital improvement plan discussion, which we are not. So
Right,
is
we
that supposed
pulled
to be
that,
Okay,
yeah.
is that going to be on the
28th.
Okay, so we could, if the motion will revise that to reflect that.
Thank you. I missed that.
No problem.
Okay.
And so, I'm sorry, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just because we're dealing with the budget calendar, but it's really in addition to the budget calendar, and so it fits into the discussion. So just for the record.
So we'll
Is
continue.
there a time?
Do we have,
I'm sorry.
do you have a date? You said the...
I threw, it depends. I would like either the Saturday before or the Saturday after. Obviously, I think the Saturday before, because if we're going to have a commission meeting where we're going to approve the meeting, then it should probably be August 8th.
Okay.
But I just think we need enough time to go through this.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Not in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well,
I think we
You
can have
have.
a meeting prior. So will you amend your motion to make that April 28th and
You mean August?
August, no, April
I'm sorry.
28th for the...
The
date of-
preliminary budget discussion, yes, I accept your change. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
I second.
Mayor?
we have,
Can I just get a point of clarification? And again, it just deals with the budget, so we'll have to bring it up later, but, in years past until last year, we brought the budget in form of each one of the funds and reviewed the funds. That allowed us to go through and make modifications that we had to throughout the year if we stayed within the fund. Do you want to do that, or do you want to go through the process of line by line like we did last year? I just wanted to get a direction from the commission, but you can give me that direction later.
okay.
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay, we have, see you reaching for your button. Go ahead.
I'm not sure I'm in town on April 28th, just letting you know.
Well,
Yeah,
that's our normal commission meeting.
Yeah.
August 8th is the meeting, though, I think that...
Right, I'm suggesting August 8th.
About. You know if you're here August 8th?
Yeah, I should be able to see. I'm just not back from London. I think I'm coming back the 28th from London.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
So do we have an approval of item F?
I think we have a motion and a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none?
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, can I get an approval of the consent agenda now that those items are approved?
So move.
I think we already did that.
We
but
may have-
No, I
already
think
did
we
it.
had a poll, we had a poll.
I thought
Yeah, well, you,
I pulled it.
We approved it without the.
No, I said approve ABC with DEF pulled, and then we just voted on DEF, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's done.
I think we're set.
Okay. All right. Now we'll have the town attorney read the ordinance title into the record. The ordinance 47625.
This is ordinance 476-25, an ordinance of the Town of Sewell Point, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 82 zoning, Article 4, Districts and District Regulations, Division 2, Residential District, Subdivision 2, Residential District R1, by creating Section 82-243.1, Applications for Certified Recovery Residences, establishing procedures for the review, approval, and enforcement of reasonable accommodation requests for certified recovery residences, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Do we need Bonnie to come up and give us a rah-rah?
For the record, Bonnie Landry. This agenda item is related to a requirement from the state to establish procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residences. We have heard this a couple of times. The most recent continuation was in February because we wanted to wait until the legislature had adjourned. But tonight is the second and final reading. We're going to focus on the changes since the January meeting because we really didn't discuss it in February. So this second public hearing is a continuation from that meeting, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the changes between the last time and the current time. So just as a reminder, this is a requirement by all local governments must comply. You need to streamline the process for approving or accommodating certified recovery residences. You must comply with ADA and Federal Housing Association, equal opportunities for housings for those individuals that are disabled. And this particular process is specific just to this one use. So just for definitions, recovery residences, you've heard them called sober homes or sober living homes. They're places that recovering individuals can have an alcohol-free, drug-free living environment, and they are required to abstain from any use of alcohol and drugs. You do also, like I said, need to comply with fair housing. So the purpose of this is that you don't put up additional barriers for these individuals to have a place to live. This is a residential use. Next slide.
Sorry.
No problem. So not to bore you, but we started this conversation back in December, but I wanted to kind of mention that each subsequent meeting, the ordinance has evolved based on comments and requests from the commissioners. Next slide. Uh-oh, I have a copy.
doesn't want to agree.
Hold on, I've got it. I'll get to that slide. See who can get there first. So, you got there at the same time. Basically, what we need to do is develop a process to review those applications so they're in a consistent way reviewed. I wanted to also remind you that it is a residential use, so it is not a business. We had that discussion previously. One of the changes that we were unable to make is we are not allowed to charge a fee because that would be discriminatory to charge a fee for this. However, one of the requests and one of the big changes since the last time we talked about this is that they still must comply with long-term rental requirements. And they do have to pay a fee for that because if there's other renters in the community, they're paying a fee. So we're not trading them different. But you do have an advantage. Some municipalities don't have that in their code. but we're able to require that. So basically, we added some information in the recitals about protecting residential character. We added a definition of what the applicant is, and that means it includes not just the individual who is disabled, but also their service provider or their representative. The applicant has to prove that they're certified. They also have to swear that the residents are not using drugs while they're living there, and that's the whole purpose of this, is that they stay drug-free. As I mentioned previously, they are required to comply with the long-term tenants, which is a minimum of 180 days. They do have to pay that license fee just like anybody else. And if for some reason they lose their certification, they must notify the town within 3 days of the lapse of that certification. So those are basically the changes since January. So that concludes the presentation. We're looking for a motion to approve the ordinance as drafted, or if there are suggested changes, make a motion with those changes. And I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any discussion?
A couple of things. One, I think our attorney Elizabeth did an excellent job on analyzing this, number one. And then secondly, the enabling legislation, Mrs. Landry does call these businesses. And so they are businesses. They aren't just some disabled person that walks in here and says, hey, I want to rent a house in Sewell's Point. I have a question on page 52. It says the name of the tenant and all occupants 18 years of older. So who is the tenant? And that's directed at you.
Directed at me, thank you. So in these residences, there are two options for who the tenant would be. It could be the recovery residence operator, or it could be the individual people who are living on the premises. If the individual residents are not the tenants, they would be subtenants, and either way, they're occupants. So that is intended to catch them under the residential occupancy and rental regulations that the town has, and they would fall under that, where they're, regardless of who the tenant is, who is having to comply with the 180-day requirement. It's not just the tenants, it's also subtenants and occupants under that code.
Thank you. And so I would like to suggest that page 56 of what's being proposed in the ordinance, that the applicant be amended to say a disabled individual or person be struck, and the representative of one or more disabled individuals qualifying for accommodation be left in. The second change I would like to suggest is on same page, paragraph 5C3, that verification of disability status form executed by someone with personal knowledge. That seems a little loosey-goosey, and I would prefer it if it's a licensed health professional that certifies that somebody has a substance abuse problem. Otherwise, I mean, I could, have somebody walk in here and say, well, listen, want to open one of these, and yeah, Frank has a substance abuse problem because they've been out to Carson's with me. But anyway, so those are two changes that I would like to recommend.
What's the wording on the top one again?
The top one, we would just delete at the very top sentence, and it says applicant, a disabled individual or a person, and just leave it as the representative of one or more disabled individuals. The representative could be disabled. I mean, it's a whole other issue, but.
So you're scratching a disabled individual?
No, yeah, I'm scratching a disabled individual or person, and just leave the applicant is the representative of one or more disabled individuals qualifying, because as we've discussed at the 2 meetings ago, this is a business, and it's a growing business in the state of Florida. There are books out there that tell you how to set up a business for recovery centers, and there's a lot of money in it. And let's just recognize it for what it is, you know? Let's not put lipstick on a pig.
Mayor,
Okay, Mr. Kurzman.
can the town legally request copies of the lease in this situation?
Yeah, they do.
And we could, so in other words, to do this, they have to give us the lease and we keep it on file, correct?
Right.
If that is part of your residential rental code?
It
that
is.
That they provide the lease, then yes.
Yep.
And what would be the penalty if they don't provide the lease? Could it be eviction?
The same as it would be for any other tenant in the town.
So I'd go before the code board.
And currently, homes that are being rented, does the town currently have copies of those leases?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
should have.
Thank you.
Just,
Okay.
my daughter owns a home in town and rents it out. And so every year, she's got to turn around and reapply to rent out the property and has to have a copy of the lease on file with the town. And also list out, you know, who the occupants are, all of the occupants.
Town attorney?
Thank you. In response to Commissioner Tidikis's request for change, I would respectfully request that you not make the change to the definition. I think it's really important that you recognize that a disabled individual can request an accommodation for their disability. And in addition, I would like to, at the top of page 2 or page 55 in your agenda, there it recognizes the public hearing dates on which you've heard public comment and discussed this ordinance, and so I'd like to add today's date into that paragraph.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? Vice Mayor?
Yes. First of all, Elizabeth, and everyone, you did a very good job listening to us.
Thank you.
And trying to make it work and tying together our rental laws and making it much more clear cut. And so I commend you. I think you did a good job. And I was going to say before you spoke that I was okay with Commissioner Tidikis's changes as long as the attorney approved of them. So it sounds like she approves of the one.
Yes.
So that is what I would support too.
Okay, before I call for a vote,
We need a motion. We need a motion.
yeah, but before I call for that,
Oh.
we need the public to come up and speak and see if anybody else has a problem with this, or any questions, or, no, seeing none? Okay, now we can make the motion.
Okay. I make a motion that page 55, the first paragraph be amended to include the date of 14 April 2026. Page 56, applicant, that it be struck that a disabled individual or person, and then the remainder of the paragraph stay. And then in paragraph 5C3, that someone with personal knowledge be struck and a licensed health professional be substituted for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Have any comments?
Yeah, you're making a motion against the attorney's recommendation.
I am. An attorney is a counselor.
Okay.
You don't have to take their advice.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
It's true.
we have a motion, we have a second.
Seconded, so it's just roll call.
Okay.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fender?
No.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
No.
Mayor Burrell?
No.
Motion fails, 3-2.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, Ed?
I'll make the same motion, just strike, leaving in the disabled individual person as indicated by the attorney.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any comments? Seeing none at this point, call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman?
No.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
No.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay, now we're going to new business.
Before we move on,
Go right ahead.
earlier in the discussion on these recovery centers, I had requested that at the time of renewal, that the police weigh in terms of whether there had been any issues. Because of the fact that it says that the individuals that are there they can't use any drugs on the property. And I was advised that that would be discriminatory. And, you know, on reflection, I agree with our attorney in that respect, that it probably would be discriminatory. But I would like to propose that we adopt a resolution that basically says on the renewal of all short-term rental properties in our town, that the police be queried as to whether there have been any incidents at those properties.
Okay, well, we don't have any short-term rental properties.
Yeah,
We have all long-term.
all right, I'm
Okay,
sorry, long-term rental properties,
Right.
6 months or more.
Right.
So in accordance with that ordinance, that the police be queried as to whether or not any incidents have occurred at the property. And, you know, and it isn't just due to drug treatment centers, but you could have somebody that's, you know, having a heck of a good time, and we have a lot of incidents where the police are called to a property, and it ought to be known to the town, and then taken into consideration as to whether or not we want to renew.
Town manager.
Just clarification with the attorney, does that put us in jeopardy of losing our short-term rental ordinance grandfathering?
I don't think so. It's been a while since I looked at this, but my recollection is that there is an opportunity under that code for you to inquire of the police department and make sure that, you know, that the tenants have been good tenants. And I can double check that as we're drafting the requested resolution, and if there's an issue, we'll let you know.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just on that note, you know, I'll look at it and think about it, but off the cuff, that seems a bit overreaching. You know, I believe our long-term rental, the 6-month thing, is an effort to keep out people without long-term plans and commitments to our town, and that, I don't know, I'd have to think about that, but my first reaction is that seems a bit heavy-handed government, in my opinion.
Okay. Guess we're moving on to new business. I want to read in the resolution of 99826.
So this resolution is basically requesting or an opportunity for you all to give direction to your staff that regarding connection fees for your septic to sewer program. As you may know, the county has a program whereby it has bid out for contractors and assists residents in having stable pricing and contracting for connections to the grinder systems, but it does not have that same program for the gravity connections. And so this would help, this process would basically set up a similar program in the town for those connections to the gravity system.
Okay. Yeah, Frank?
This ordinance does not reflect what we talked about at the meeting. And I would turn your attention to page 11, which basically are the minutes of the last meeting. Page 11, if you go down to the, I guess, the start of the third paragraph from the bottom, it says Commissioner Titikus moved to adopt the proposed option 1 sewer project funding, which involves modifying the gravity connection costs and base rates for 179, 129 grinder systems, and using the capital improvement fund to cover an estimated $105,000 shortfall at the end of the grant period. And then on page 12, it says Commissioner Kurzman, and this is halfway down through the page, requested further clarification on the pending motion. Commissioner Titikus subsequently restated the motion to adopt option 1, establishing a uniform base rate for all connections and determining the future shortfalls or deferring any future shortfalls to a future commission for later review. Nowhere in that meeting did we discuss contracting with plumbers or shortlisting a group of plumbers. We discussed who was going to pay, and we basically said the payment rate ought to be the same for everybody in town, the base rate, regardless of the connection or type of connection. And that's not what is in this resolution.
Mayor?
Yeah, just reading the resolution.
I guess I was under the impression this resolution was in an effort to have, to be able to give everybody that same rate. You'd have to have people who are ready to agree to that rate. Otherwise, I don't know how you would do that off the cuff, because this happens throughout time for a long period of time. So I thought, again, I'm looking for more explanation, but I thought that was what this was an effort to get the arsenal to be able to do what you said.
I don't read it that way.
I think it's not defined well enough to where two people see two different things, or if something's missing, we need a better definition in this
Are you looking
resolution.
Are you looking for a resolution just to say what you said? Because we already voted on it and we agreed to it, and that should stick. But are you looking for a resolution that basically restates
what
we committed to before?
Absolutely. The way we left it at the last meeting was that, and you weren't here, Mr. Torsivia was here, he was going to go back and he was going to draft a resolution that basically said everybody would pay the same base rate. Now, understand, I think we walked away from that meeting, or at least I did, understanding that the base rates are going to change. In October 1, we know that Martin County is going to raise that base rate by $1,000. And we also know that the individual rates for a property owner are going to vary depending on the conditions of that property. So, for example, at the time that we discussed this, there were 39 properties that had signed up for the grinder system. Of those 39 properties, only 5 had paid $7,000, which basically is the grinder system within 35 feet of the connection to the pipe. The other properties paid in excess of that, and the reason why they paid in excess of that was because of the fact that, there were other mitigating circumstances. They were further away. They were, some people had two septic systems. There were a variety of factors. But it's basically that everybody goes in this town, we're one town, and we pay a same base rate regardless of the type of connection.
Yes, I mean, I voted with you. I'm on board for that. I thought this was part of the process. Do you need more detail, or do you what do you want? What do you?
It doesn't say that. I want this resolution to say that. That's what
I
this
guess
is.
I thought it was a way to get what you wanted.
Show me where. When I asked Mr. Daniels,
I mean,
yes.
we could add more details. I'm all for changing it. It's not like I'm saying this has to be it. He said, issue a competitive solicitation to select at least 3 qualified contractors to complete. I was like, okay, that's so that you can make deals with, that you're the ones who are going to agree to do whatever. I'd acquiesce to the people who are actually going to execute it. But I'm not angry about it, just like a first step. Let's work to get you what you want.
4, 5, 6.
I'm looking for our attorney.
Sixth item seems to say what you're saying to me, but am I reading it wrong?
What would you like to add to that, Commissioner Titicus?
I'd like to add the wording that we agreed to at the last meeting that is in the minutes. And draft it up into legalese, however you want to do it. But it certainly is not reflected in this resolution that is in front of us.
Let's see.
The item 6 says that to me.
Items,
It's not numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The goal,
goal of
whereas
the
it's the
town.
goal of the town that the pricing for all septic and sewer transmissions be similar.
I'd like the word base rate in there somewhere.
Okay?
I mean,
That's more specific, so
I want to be as specific as possible, yes.
I'll make a motion that we table it to make the motion more specific with the pricing.
I would ask, is it necessary?
Yeah.
So the reason this is coming before you the way it is, instead of actually a resolution establishing pricing, is that you don't have any pricing to base your base rate on. So this is the goal, is to get a program established that establishes this is the town's fee, this is the contractor's fee, this is how we come up with our base rate. We have tried to make it the same as what the county is charging. It may be a little more, it may be a little less, but that was our goal. And with that information, you will establish an actual base rate and adopt the pricing for the contracts and the unit pricing that would be over and above the base rate for those special circumstances per property and all that. You can't set a rate to charge the public when it's not based on actual numbers. That's how the county has established their base rate, is through that competitive solicitation, so they know what the pricing is. And so I'm trying to help get you to that same spot.
And furthermore, I would say that I like the term similar, because I think base rate is a legal term that might get construed a certain way that locks something in, that doesn't allow the spirit of what we agreed to come forth. And I think the spirit is, we want everybody to pay a similar rate, right? I don't care what parameters you put that into. I honestly don't understand the definition of the term base rate, and I don't want to get tied up in what somebody thinks the definition of base rate is and somebody else doesn't. I mean, it probably has a legal term, but similar is an English word that says we're going to make them similar.
Well, the documents that were presented at the last meeting basically said it was a base rate, $7,000 and $10,000, and the county establishes that, and they change it periodically. No problem with that. I mean, once we sign the interlocal agreement, to a large extent, this is out of our hands. Then there's a whole other issue, and on reflection, I mean, we're going to basically shortlist 3 plumbers and say to the residents of this town, you can only use these plumbers. Whereas anybody who is a licensed plumber and registered in Martin County can do work. And so why are we limiting it to 3 plumbers? I mean, if I decide I want to go out and pay extra money because somebody's going to put gold piping in, then that's my choice.
Where does it say the 3 plumbers? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I see it there.
Number 2,
Okay.
issue a competitive solicitor and select 3 qualified contractors to complete the scope of services on a work order basis. I mean, why? Why are we interfering with that? I mean, I heard Commissioner Mayfield earlier say she doesn't like government intrusion. What the hell is this?
I believe these were the words I said.
Well, would you agree or disagree that the 3 helps some people? And if you're saying I can go outside of the 3 if I want to? Would that be okay for you?
Yeah, I'm saying you can select anybody you want to. Anybody in this town can select
I know,
any.
but I don't know anybody, so I'm happy that you're giving me 3 choices. That's my point. Is some people are going to be benefited by the 3. You're not, and that's okay. I mean,
All they got to do is call down and speak to Crystal and say, who's on your list of approved plumbing contractors for the
Here's
town
the
of
3?
Sewell Point? Well, I mean, there may be 10.
but
Who knows?
Okay, I got a lot of lights here, guys. I still start with the town manager.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification on a couple issues. One is we're talking about 76 connections. The gravity is 76 connections. So we're doing all this for those 76 people so we can match up the rate, whatever it is at that particular date. We know it changes over time because the rates increase. The second thing, it's not just plumbers. In fact, we have one of our contractors for the septic to sewer that it's my understanding that they also are part of the county's program, and that's Jamie Underground. And they have representatives here tonight. And, so again, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm assuming that plumbers could do the work, but it does involve some underground work that they do, and sometimes they have to directional drill under driveways and other items that are in the yard to make that connection. So I don't want to single out that it's only going to be plumbers that would be applying for this. We go out and do a process, a 30-day bid process, and come up with the qualified individuals that we would recommend to do the work for 76 connections.
Okay, now we have Mr. Kurzman.
I think the town manager answered my question. So that really would be matching the grant. That's where the match comes in to get the grants for the septic to sewer conversions. And so that's pretty much, that's the only way we could do it, I guess.
Okay, now we have Mr. Fender.
That was from before.
Okay, Mr. Titigus.
I'm done. That was from
Okay.
before.
Town attorney.
So to add on to what has been said, the intent is to have contractors who have at least gone through a competitive solicitation process and contracted with the town to hold their pricing. It is an availability and offer for the residents. It's not a requirement. And it does aid the town in collecting those grant match, costs.
Now we have Mr. Titigus.
Right, you just threw me on it's not a requirement. So in other words, the town goes through, they shortlist 3 bidders, and somebody says, I don't want to use them, I want to use somebody
You
else.
can use whoever you want.
You can use whoever you want. Okay. Does that state that anywhere in here?
Thought it did. Yes, number 4, if residents desire to utilize the town's pricing.
Okay. All right.
This is really well written.
Thank you.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Doesn't say what you want.
You're right. It doesn't reflect the
We
minutes.
finished having fun up here? Does there anybody want to make a public comment on this? Okay, not seeing anybody.
John Taylor, Jamie Underground.
Come on. Just have to fill out one of those forms before you leave, okay?
So like what you're discussing and referring to the county's process of doing it in the Golden Gate community is a vacuum system, and the connections from the house to the vacuum system are gravity, just the same as the Rio Vista. They held a bid, and there's 2 contractors that were awarded that bid. The residents in that community can hire another plumber if they choose to. However, the county blanketed permits for construction and did the inspections, and they blanketed the health department for the septic abandonment as well. If they hired a private contractor, they would have to apply for building permits and health department permits, and the pricing for the residents that went through the county was a fixed price. So much for up to 35 feet, and then a unit price after that if like a connection had to go around the back of the house. But those people did have the option to hire private contractors. It's just that they had to do more steps.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any further discussion?
Fill out a form?
Come on up.
James Robinson, 2 Baku Street. So with the grinders, my understanding is that these grinders are using 220-volt power. Is that correct?
Yes.
So wouldn't that require an electrical permit or electrician to make the connection to said grinder? Because I don't believe a plumber has the licensure to work with 220-volt power.
Mayor, may I? Yes, the county does have an electrician that does that connection. Yours is a grinder unit that would go in, and they would connect electrical. They handle everything. Whereas with the gravity sewer line that we have in the Rio Vista area, they don't connect you to the sewer. They don't have a program for that. So that's what we're trying to do, is facilitate that and have a process for those 76 individuals. But yours is going to be the set price. Whatever the county charges you to connect is what you'll end up paying. And they actually come out and they survey your property and where your septic tank is and determine the amount of unit pricing that might go into it if you're over that 35-foot level.
Is that the same process that's been used on the north side?
Yes, it's the exact same process.
John Hamilton, 93 South River Road. 2 questions. The quantity of 76 connections for Rio Vista, is that the total, or is that just a subset for Rio Vista, gravity feed?
That's the total for the gravity feed, yes.
Are there more than 76 residents in Rio Vista?
I believe there's some that are along Sewell's Point Road, and they already have grinder systems that if they aren't in the first part, and I don't have the map here, so I apologize, but those homes that are along South Sewell's Point Road are connected to the sewer through the grinder process. We're talking about the homes that aren't along South Sewell's Point Road, and we were required to go back with a different program with the county to get those approved.
Okay, so basically everyone in Rio Vista is counted in that 76 number.
Correct, if you don't live along South Sewell's Point Road.
Second question is, you talked about a unit price beyond the 35 feet. Any idea what that unit price is?
I don't, but we could probably find out for you from the county and see what they're charging, because I'm assuming it's going to be something similar to it.
I would like to know what that number is. Because my septic system is behind my house, and my decision would be based on what the unit cost is going to be to get it to the 35-foot limit.
I will try to find out for you.
Anybody else? Mr. Fender, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 998-26 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Would you entertain an amendment to your motion that in paragraph 6 on page 1 of 3, it says, where it is the goal of the town that the base pricing for all septic to sewer be similar, recognizing there are differences. And that's reflective of the wording that we,
I probably would, I just don't know what base pricing means, but anybody else can tell me it's fine, I'll do it. Is the attorney okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, yes, I'll amend it to include the word base.
that's
base
it,
rate?
just base, right in
Oh,
front,
base,
between the and pricing.
The base pricing. I'll second.
thank you. Okay, I see it, the
Okay.
base pricing, sure. Some modified of my motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. I'm going to go to grant update and cash flow.
I'm going to call upon Mariah Pierce, our finance director, to discuss where we are. As you know, we deal with cash flows quite regularly now, and because of all the projects we have going on. So she wants to give you an update on where we stand.
So basically, you just got 2 pieces of paper that are going around. And I do apologize for not being able to get this in the packet beforehand. There's a lot of movement with the grants. The first thing that I wanted to basically bring everybody up to speed with, because I know there's been a lot of talk about the dedicated millage, and on your form, the first page, it says dedicated millage for capital improvement projects, and I thought it was important to share with folks how much the town has collected thus far and where we're using it. And so with that being said, on September 8, 2021, the Town Commission adopted Resolution 924 approving the additional .4 mils to be used for capital projects. Since then, and on 924, you'll see I did put 285 as an estimate. It's actually 293,000, so a difference of 8,000, an additional 8,000 that I didn't record here. So through today's date.
Do we have the ability to put this on a screen by any chance?
Oh, I think you sent that to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I apologize.
So through today's date, the town has collected 1,700,000, and the form says 49,000, but I added the 8,000, so $1,757,522 is what the town has collected thus far in that .4 mils. That resolution, or that dedicated mills, is set to sunset in September 30th, 2036, so just so everybody knows. But with that being said, if you go down below, where there's been true recording of this money being used, Phase 3 design had a grant that, in the design work, required the town match, and the town's match was $43,000. So I allocated $43,000 of this .4 mils to go to that. The estimated Phase 3 construction match that we are looking at is $567,979. So that's going to be the town's portion that we'll have to cover for that match. Estimated for Phase 2 construction is going to be, right now, I have it at $1 million. If you look at that second sheet that I gave you, which the town manager does not have this up on the screen, this is for the Phase 2 project, and this is what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, is that the construction, the total cost for the construction is $5.9 million, basically $6 million. The federal share that we're getting is 63%. That's what's going to be covered by the grant. There's 37% that the town will be required to cover. If you go down and you will see below, grant monies to be reimbursed, we're looking at $3.1 million to be reimbursed to the town. That leaves a difference of $2.8 million. I'm estimating to use dedicated millage of $1 million, property sale of, we've got the 78 South Sewalls Point Road that we're hoping to sell, and then I had a different number, but anyway, I've got another $600,000 that I think we're going to be able to apply to this. So I believe we're going to come in about $200,000, give or take, needing to use future ad valorem, that special .4 millage for next year toward this project. With that,
Just clarification, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is this 2A or 2B?
this is 2A.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. So there's another part of Phase 2 which we're waiting on. That's an HMGP part from FEMA, as I've reported on to the commission before, and we're obviously, the Department of Homeland Security isn't even active yet because it hasn't been funded by Congress and the Senate, and whoever else has to sign off on it. And so it's kind of being held in abeyance, and I know that involves Riverview and some of those areas that, you know, we wanted to make sure we could get covered as soon as possible. So once we get that, all of our paperwork's done, and it's the contract sitting up there for the secretary to sign, and that's what we were told. So this just covers 2A, which is the stretch from Oakwood to Henry Sewell's Meadows.
Correct. And this, the reason that this was pushed forward was this grant expires June 30th. just along the same with the other DEP grant that expires. So where this comes into play, because I just wanted to say, okay, this is the town's match for that, and I think we're going to be okay with a little give and take toward the end, and possibly, you know, utilizing the next dedicated millage to help cover it. Cash flow, and as I said in the finance report, cash flow is going to get tight. I'm estimating toward the end of May, most definitely June. I have right now close to 2.5, I think, pending, being reimbursed, and I'm continuously working on more reimbursements. There's a lot of state grants out there and federal grants that are coming due at June 30th. Where we're going to get tied up is depending on the closeout of those projects, how fast we will get reimbursed. So at that time, we may need to utilize the line of credit. And so that's what I wanted to come to the commission and share that, just so you have that heads up, you know, being said. It could take 3 months to get reimbursed from the grants after they close out, and possibly longer. So that was what I have gotten from the grant agency thus far. So.
Mr. Fender.
Thanks, Mariah. A couple of questions. So thanks for this. Just a couple of points, and I'll ask for some clarification. So your calculation obviously includes only dedicated millage collected to date, although you just mentioned a second ago that you might get some more, and you know, each subsequent year, and we can look out into the future a little bit, right? Correct. And then down at the bottom, I see property sale for $1 million.
So this is an item that's coming up on the agenda, but I'm hopeful.
We're getting ready to market the 78 Sewell's Point Road
I know, but that number's
property.
significantly less than what the numbers I've been
We're
hearing.
looking at taking a million from that. There's roughly, on the loan, I think there's going to be 1.9 million left to pay off. And we're estimating, as in the memo, I know we're going to talk about this here in the future, but just to give you an idea.
So we have to
So that's
pay off
where
the mortgage.
they're looking out of the right.
Ah.
So they're looking out of the proceeds from that sale to take $1 million and account that to the capital projects.
Okay. And then the last thing was what you just mentioned, is that we have a line of credit that would
cover us.
Until future dedicated millage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
I have a question, Vinnie. On the road resiliency grants, it was my understanding when they were applied for that there was a federal, you know, there's federal money coming in, but there was also state money that was going to cover the town's match. Was I wrong in that?
So let me go back. So Phase 3 has two grants. So that was broken out into an HMG portion and a DEP portion. The DEP portion for Phase 3 was 100% covered by the grant. There was no town match. The HMGP portion did require a town match of that. So both were federal monies. There's no, you know, crossing over, and because they had to be broken out into specific areas, still no crossing over for that portion. Phase 2 road project, the original plan was to do the whole project together. We've broken it out to 2A now and 2B. With that being said, there is state monies that are going to help with the match. For Phase 2A, those state monies could not be used in that section. So we had to move it to the HMGP portion, which there will be a match in HMGP. We're still waiting for that finalized contract to get returned to us so we know what those true numbers are.
So if I was to go back and pull the grant application for 2A, okay, it states in there that the town's match is 37.18%?
It's in the contract, so I would have to look at the application. I did not do that application. So I'd have to go back and look at that application.
Well, I mean, the application was brought before this group, so I mean, did you all vote for a 37% match that the town was going to have to pony up, you know?
When was this grant done?
The grant had to be done at least 3 or 4 years ago.
Then it didn't come before this group.
We,
Well, it
we
came,
we raised taxes specifically and made this fund because we knew we would have, I don't know the exact amount. I'd have to go back and look. Yes, there was the talk of state, matching federal, but we raised taxes with the intention of having matches because we knew it was going to happen. So that's why it's here, and that's why it's dedicated to the road project.
well, first of all, I'd like to correct you from the standpoint that I went back and I pulled the resolution that was originally passed on the .04 mil, and it states, as Mariah has correctly stated in her preamble, that the Town Commission adopted Resolution 924 to collect an additional .4 mils to be used solely for capital improvement projects. So if it's on the capital list, you're right, it's covered, but not just for road resiliency.
Dave and I, we were there for the thing, and I don't know exactly how the vote went. I think it was other people, I don't know exactly how it went, but we had big, long-term discussions, and I felt that way, and Dave felt that way. I can't remember how exactly everybody felt, but that was how it was sold, and that's how we have continuously voted. Yeah, so if you want to argue about what happened 3 years ago, that's fine, but we were under the impression that we would have to have matching money, so.
Yeah, and one of the big questions was coming up when people come up to the mic, this isn't going to be used for raises, this isn't going to be done for this. And we gave our word, it's strictly 100% going to be for the resiliency project.
No.
Those were the exact words that were used at the time.
May be, Dave, but in the paperwork, the resolution, basically 924 states it will be used for capital improvement projects.
That's as good as we could get with the commission at that time. But our intention was, and still is, to use it for the road project, and we have done that.
Which is a capital project.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
a capital project. I'm okay with that. I'm just, but the last meeting, you all were pretty stalwart and in terms of it's only going to be used for road resiliency, and that's not the case.
Yeah,
I was the mayor when we did this. I remember very clearly how it went down.
And I remember one other thing, but people got up and few people mentioned it's not going to be for the sewers either. And I said, we'll agree on that. And everybody said, yes, it will not be used for the sewers, will not be used for raises.
I don't remember that part.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah, I do
Because to me,
very well.
sewers is a capital project.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And I would just like to add for the public's knowledge, Phase 3, just with construction, roughly is $10 million. So a lot of that has been covered by grants. This is just a smidget in what's being covered by, the residents. So.
Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to kind of enlighten everyone on 2B. We do have two appropriations. One was $1 million, which is coming to us through DOT, and the other one is $750,000, which is coming to us from DEP. Now, they're state funding. So where we run into a problem is and we had that, if you recall, the ARPA funding, and I know we've been through it before, but, we were told that it was state funding, but it ended up being federal government gave it to the state. So that's why we had to split the projects. We couldn't use the money from DEP to match a DEP federal grant. So we had to use the money to match the HMGP grant. And that's why when 2B comes around, we should be in a little bit better position when it comes to the funding, just depending on where that is and how the project bids out. Because I don't want to bid the project yet, because once you bid it, you basically have 90 days to, come back with a contract. And it's not fair to the contractors and the bidders not to do that. So I'm trying to work within the parameters that we have, but I think we all owe it to those individuals that live in that area from Oakwood to Pine Pineapple, which would be the missing link section that we'll have left of Phase 2. So, sorry.
Thank you, Mariah, for the update.
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
So to that point, 2B is not inside of the June 30th deadline, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. So, in context of this, what's left after this? The 1.7 grant we're hoping to get
Right,
beyond this, right?
The 1.7,
That does not include this.
it's,
Correct.
the 1.7 is actually an allocation from our state legislature. So over 2 years, we were able to accrue,
I'm only worried about the cash
Right.
flow hit.
okay.
And so then, based on that, what's left? We've got 2B, and then do we have the flooding problem on?
Phase 4 is what's called for, and
Yeah,
it's
but
not as
there's
severe.
a significant problem on the corner of, what's the road that we always get beat up about? That's not resolved yet, right?
River Road?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, we,
No, not up high, down low, where the clerk of court.
Riverview.
It's Mandalay and,
No, Riverview.
No, Riverview, that's where Diane Kimes is.
Yes.
Right, and that's why I'm
So
saying
what-
they're
what
within
section is that?
2B.
That's part
And
of
that's
2B.
what I was addressing to,
Okay,
that
all
we still have to get that done and make everybody whole. And then, aside from that, hopefully we can take a little bit of break
Yeah.
and then go and do Phase 4, which is what the game plan is. And then we're still trying to get funding for River Road to do some improvements up there, which, you know, again, would help with the water flow because it flows from the west end of the town to the east end.
Okay, but 2B is Riverview.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. You done up here?
That's it.
Okay. Do we have any public comments? Okay, seeing none. Okay. Let's go to the purchase of the property behind Town Hall. Okay. Town manager?
Yes. We've looked at this at different time periods. We had a lot on the Heritage, and, we had, at one time, we went out for proposals from realtors to sell Heritage, and the thought process back then, and I'm probably going back to maybe 3 years roughly, and then the thought process was, that we would have a, if that worked out, have a realtor do 78 South Sewell's Point Road when that time comes up to sell it. And now we're getting close to the time. I think as we get into the summer, and my question to you all is I need direction. Do you want to go a similar route, or do you want to do a bid process where you, I think that we set a minimum bid for acceptance, and we do a sealed bid process for like 60 days. We market the property and send it out, and there's always the caveat that, you can reject all of the bids if you want to. Look for realtors, and I've been contacted by a number of realtors in the area that some of them are residents, and they'd love to have the opportunity. We can ask for proposals, and, the main thing you look at is the commission rate and what's going to cost the town for them to market your property. And the fact that if they could market it sufficiently, that they would come up with a buyer in a short term. And there's probably other options in there. I just was picking everybody's brains, and that was the two that I came up with.
Not that I don't want to talk about that, but were we doing the purchase of property behind Town Hall first? That's for, we
Oh,
can,
did I?
I think we skipped one.
Okay.
But if we want to do them flipboard or whatever.
Yeah, I think we should, so, thanks. I wasn't even following my own agenda, sorry. So, let me talk about purchasing the property behind Town Hall. Historically, that parcel, I believe, at one point in time, did belong to the town. We couldn't prove it by way of a deed. history tells us from talking to folks that have been in town for years and years, and some of my employees that have been here for years and years, the town's employees, they're not my employees, sorry, but part of the team. And apparently the property was sold or given to Gulf Utilities, I believe was the name of the company at the time, and they provided water, and eventually they were supposed to provide sewer to the town. And from what I hear, somewhere along the line, there were some financial situations, and they ended up selling the utility to Martin County Utilities. And that's how we have Martin County Utilities is servicing us. And the property came over with that asset of the tower or the tank that was here. I don't want to say it was a tower, but it was a tank that pretty much was the whole size of a 100-foot lot that's there. It's basically 100 by 100. And as I came before the commission a few months ago and mentioned to you that, I was going to go out and, as part of the negotiation, I was asked about an appraisal. And so I went out and got the appraisal that you have in front of you, I think as an addition. For some reason, it didn't make the agenda, but it's basically paying the county $50,000 for the lot, and with the hopes that that lot will be utilized for a project we've had on board for ever since I've been here. It was probably a couple years before I started, of either raising town hall, so because we are in a flood zone, or rebuilding town hall. And all of that, again, counts on getting grant dollars. And but what brings this to light, because normally I was going to try to do something with the property down the road, our lease is up in May. We basically, 10 or 15, I think it was 10 years ago, we leased it for $1 a month from the county. And they had expressed to me that they weren't going to do that lease anymore. So it'd either be leasing the property and them controlling what we can do with it, or buying it. And I think having the opportunity to buy it, now where am I coming up with the $50,000? We do have a police car that's set to be replaced in the capital budget. So before I mentioned anything, I went to the chief and I said, Chief, do you mind if we put that off to the next year? We've already put it off because of our cash flow problems. And she obviously said that she doesn't mind. She thinks it's a good idea to get the property while we can. So I'm bringing it before you. It's scheduled to go before the county on the 24th, I believe it is their meeting date. And if you approve this and I can get the mayor and attorney's signature on it tonight, I will be hand delivering both copies. We actually have 2 copies to execute. So they have an original and we'll have an original. So, and that's it. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any public comments? Seeing none?
I have a question in terms of, the property is landlocked, correct?
It's landlocked, but under state law, we would have to give a property owner the easement. Now, it's also zoned government, so if somebody bought the property and it wasn't us, they would have to come and get the property rezoned.
Through Martin County or through Sewell's Point?
Through Sewell's Point. The property's in Sewell's Point.
Okay. All right, and just when you went on to the property appraiser's office, you couldn't find the history of the transactions?
We went back and, Elizabeth, helped me a lot in trying to research it. We did a deed search. We did everything we could, and even the county had checked their records for me, and nobody actually has the original deed. But we do know that they own it as part of that sale. So how the town got it and transferred it to the utilities, the private utility company, I don't know. We didn't have that transaction. We have it listed in the agreement where they took over for Gulf Utilities, but we don't have how Gulf Utilities got it from the town.
And if we didn't buy it, what would the county do with it?
They would sell it as surplus property.
As government surplus, as zoned government?
Well, we would have to change the zoning if somebody bought it.
Well, we wouldn't have to change the zoning, would we?
We don't have to change it if we buy it, but if another individual that wanted to change it, say to commercial or residential, they would have to change the zoning that's on it currently.
They would have to apply to change the
Right.
zoning, but it would come before, it would...
This commission,
Okay.
or the plan, I think it's called to come back before the commission when we do a zoning change, but
Okay.
Okay, we need a motion to approve this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the town manager to submit an executed contract for purchasing the property behind Town Hall and authorizing the mayor, town attorney, and interim town clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the town
for
At the
$50,000.
least
for
amount.
$50,000.
Okay. Or less.
We have a motion, do we
I'll
have a
second.
second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any chatter about it? Seeing none, call.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
No.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes,
Motion passes.
Now, if you'll allow me to go back to the
78
sale of the
cents.
home. Yes, sorry about that, Mayor.
okay.
Again, as I said, it's just, we're looking at how you would like us to market it. Roughly, we purchased the property for $2.2 million. And for the history, we couldn't get anyone to give us an easement, or sell us property that we could use for an STA. And that actually was transactions that were going on in negotiations prior to me starting with the town. And then we were able to negotiate buying the property, and we'll have our easements recorded for the work that we have for the stormwater system and the STA. And so altogether, we have about 2.7 million into the property. The loan, by the time we paid off the loan, is approximately 1.9 million. And the other amounts come in for the, the landscaping and the other expenses tied in with the home. And interest, thank you. Interest is another big, to recoup the interest.
Okay. Any public comments? Seeing none,
I have a question.
go right ahead.
There was, you laid out the two options there, Bob, but is there a recommendation on a minimum bid acceptance?
Well, I would look at a minimum bid of being 2.7, which is what we have into the property.
Okay.
But, I have had people laugh at me, but I'm used to being laughed at, so. But I think, looking at what we can bring in as a minimum amount, and, we can, again, we've got the loan going until, I think it's December of 2027.
Correct.
And so, I am in a rush because I'd like to see the cash get flowed back into the system, but, that purchase price is really up to you, and at being the commission, so. Just as long as it's over 2.2.
Okay, Mr. Kurzman.
I think this is something we should consult a Realtor for, whoever winds up getting the bid to become the Realtor to sell the property. They would know a lot more than we would. It's a different kind of property now because you do have a retention area in the front and the back. I don't know if you've walked the property yet. You got a small retention area with, it almost looks like a grill in the back, the way it's designed. You have water, so the water goes from the front, there's pipes, then it goes to the back, there's another retention area, then it's discharged as clean water at that point, acceptable water. And a lot of the water, it's eventually is going to start across the street, if I'm correct, over at the corner of Ridge View. There you'll see where that all the equipment's being stored at the moment. So what's going to happen, that eventually is going to be a big retention area. And then the retention area is going to feed into the retention area across the street. Then it's going to go into the little retention area behind the house. Then at that point, it's considered clean. That's going to be, I guess, the way the project is working out. Everything also is stored in pipes, so all the pipes are going to lead to those areas. And I believe it starts across the street, so it's going to go through a lot of pipes to get through to there.
If I may, it's not really a retention area, it's a stormwater treatment area. So it has the water will come in and with serpentine around, and we have plantings that are in the stormwater treatment area that absorb the nutrients and the other impurities that are in the water. And so as the water moves, it drops the weights, and that's the plants are basically absorbing all that is the way the process is. So the property that's on the west side of Sewell's Point Road will be a stormwater treatment area as well, and they'll be utilizing the outfall pipe that is on 78 South Sewell's Point Road at the home. So you have basically two retention areas. The one is built, and they were testing the pumps today, in fact. And then the pipes do go through a filtration process as well. They have two baffle boxes, and then it goes into the weir that's in the back. It's not really a retention area. It's made to fill up and then trickle out over into the river. Again, the thought process being the impurities drop to the bottom because they're heavier than the water, and that way you have pure water as it goes out through to the river.
Mr. Fender.
This is just a separate question that's completely in left field. But if a $3 million donation arrived to the town, which was more than the 2.2 or 2.7 that you're looking to sell the property for, would the town be required to sell the property?
I think if $3 million dropped in our lap with no strings attached, then, we could pay off the loan and have money to use for the capital projects. But that, again, that would be a decision for this commission, not me.
So my question is, you're going to have a retention area in front of this property and one in back?
No, the one in back is the weir, and what happens is the water fills up, and again, it's made for the impurities to drop down into the bottom of the weir, and then trickles out over the top of the weir into the water.
Okay, and the weir is going to be in their backyard?
It's there now, yes.
It's there now?
So.
I don't know. Okay, Mr. Kurzman.
Yeah, what I would suggest is you're welcome on the property. You could talk to anybody that's there. Take a look and see what's there so you have a better understanding. You'll see it firsthand. I've watched the whole thing happen over a period since we've started doing this. I've been looking at it about once every month or two, and I've seen the progress. It's interesting to see, and it gives you, the commission, a better understanding as we get asked new questions. This way, there's nothing better than to actually witness it and see it. And
It's not hard to ask a question when you're telling me that there is a retention area in front of the property. I could walk it till I can't walk anymore,
that you
and it's
can.
still going to be a retention area in front of the property.
yes, it's always
Okay.
going to be there. That's never going to change. And
Right.
we're in the back.
And will anybody that buys it, will they have the right to change that?
No.
No, it's
There you
permanent.
go. That's my question. That's, okay. Vice Mayor Mayor.
Yes, so Commissioner Kurzman, are you saying that you like the idea of option two, like getting Realtor proposals so that they would be the ones that would look at it, list it, market it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we have some two really amazing realtors that live here in town. The money that they're getting for some of these homes, every time I look at it, I just can't believe it. especially some of the waterfront homes. They've earned some amazing money, and I think those are two realtors that I hope would come in and offer to sell the property. I'd like to see what they have to offer. And, you know, maybe we can get 2 point something for that property.
Is that a motion?
Well, yes, I would make a motion.
Wait, first I have to get public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none? Okay, we discussed this, so now we have a motion.
I would make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Option 2.
I'll second the motion
We
that
have a
the
motion and
town
a second.
will accept proposals from realtors to list and sell the property at a minimum bid of $2.7 million.
Is that going to cover the debt?
Yes.
Cover the debt plus what we have in it. Is
Do-
that acceptable to you, Dave?
Yes, I'll change it to the minimum of $2.7 million to sell the property
Okay.
from the realtor.
Do we need to do that yet? Or do we want to hear what the realtors have to say? Or are you just not wanting any realtors that
Want a
would
CMA on
do it
this?
to come in? Or do you want to,
Well, the goal, what I heard Mr. Daniels say earlier, was the goal is to sell this property so that, number one, we can get out from underneath the $1.9 million note that we've got sitting out there. And we're also spending $150,000 a year on interest payments on this property. And then to use whatever the difference is to go towards the road resiliency project and the town match that we've got to come up with. And so let's just set a floor to it, tell realtors that this is what we're looking for, and if you can move the property, great. You know, sooner the better.
So you don't want to get any kind of a market analysis?
The market
I don't know if it's
analysis is
gonna
going to be
work. You're
somebody
really
coming
saying-
in and putting the money down and making an earnest offer.
Well, Okay.
Mayor, one more thing.
sure.
The other thing I'd like to do is also offer up the heritage lot to that same realtor. The last lot I know that sold on Mandalay. It's a regular lot. It went for $700,000. If we could get $700 for the heritage lot, and we could wind up getting 2.7 for the house at 78, and it's going to help us tremendously financially, the town. It would be a lot of benefit to it if we could get that much money on those two properties.
But
Okay, so,
haven't, well, I think Bob hit his button first.
That's okay.
Go ahead. But I mean, we've already approved the sale of the heritage lot at a minimum price of $700,000.
Yes, but that would be with a realtor.
Well, I mean, we had a realtor, but it's out there, it's for sale for $700,000. You know, if somebody comes up with the money, they got the lot. I don't know what, well, anyway.
It might be a good incentive.
town manager.
Yeah, excuse me, I think we actually had an offer in here of $715,000 that the commission turned down. So I think the new floor is $715,000, but I think the direction I got that, you know, you wanted to see considerably more for the property. But again, you tell me what you want to do, and, you know, if we want to have them market it at the same time, we can do that, so.
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
I think, I appreciate what you're saying. I think it might be simpler, though, to keep them separate, since Heritage is always, we've always dealt with that on its own. That might get a little more muddied waters, so I think we should keep it separate.
All right, I'll go back to the original motion. Yeah,
Okay,
for
so we have a motion
78.
and we have a second.
Right.
Is there any further
And
discussion?
this is with your,
2.7 floor. Yep.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Fender?
No.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Mayor Burrell?
I'd like to get a market analysis first, but I'm going to have to, I'll say yes.
Motion passes.
If I may, as part of the proposal, can we ask the firms that are going to submit that they do a market analysis and include it with their proposal?
Because I'm going to do a market analysis on it.
Okay.
Okay?
That'll work.
Well, you're prohibited from,
Yeah, I know.
you can do the market
I'm not going
analysis,
to,
you can't
well, let me
market
tell you,
it.
I'm not doing it myself, but I'm going to have it done. Okay, so we, Code Enforcement Board.
I think Commissioner Kurzman had something else.
Commissioner Kurzman wants something.
Nope.
And I was just going to ask Commissioner Fender, because he voted no. I was just going to ask, will you, like, if somebody were to come in with the $3 million, if that was possible, I think the commission would probably agree to pull the property if they wanted to make that like a rec hall or something else for the town. I wouldn't personally be opposed to that, and I don't know if any of the other commissioners would feel any different, but that's about the only way that things would change on that.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
You have your checkbook out, Frank?
I'd like to see it for the benefit of the town, honestly.
So would I.
Okay, the Town Manager, you have it for the Code Enforcement?
Yes. Basically, we, unfortunately, we had a resignation of our Code Enforcement Board member, Mr. Dillard, and he, unfortunate to us, we lost a resident too, because he passed, and that's why he was stepping down. Otherwise, he would have finished his term. We do have Jesse Stein, who is an alternate member, and we were recommending that we move him up to the full-time, and that left us 2 alternate vacancies. When I met with Commissioner Titigus, he advised me that we did have an application come in, and we did check our emails, and unfortunately, it came in during the time frame that Mariah was out due to her illness, and so we missed it. So we did, I did reach out to, I thought we had paperwork here.
Steve Polchek.
Yeah, and Steve does have his, did have the application and is willing to do the Form 1. So it's up to the commission if you wanted to appoint him for one of the alternate vacancies. That's totally up to you. But, you know, he did understand. I explained to him how the email didn't make it through. You know, got my apologies that occurred. And he is willing still to step in. He'd be here tonight, but I think he's out of town and is not due in until tomorrow. So
Who was Mr. Dillard's appointed commissioner?
I believe it was Commissioner Titigus.
Right.
Okay, so you're okay with Jesse Stein taking over?
I don't know Mr. Stein. I do know Mr. Polchek, and, you know, and
That's his call.
No, I understand.
And I had encouraged Steve to apply. And so, but since Mr. Stein has served on the, as an alternate for a period of time, I don't have a problem with moving him up, you know, subject to the fact that should another opening occur, then Steve Polchek had moved up.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Can I add something?
Sure.
Well, I do know Jesse Stein, and I do know that he is busy, but I do know he's also interested. So I was going to say that maybe you could call and ask him if he would like to serve, if he had the option of continuing to be the alternate.
We did.
Oh, okay, good.
we
And he wants to
did.
be full-time.
And he
Okay.
was at the last meeting filling
Okay.
in.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
I was just going to add my
Oh,
endorsement for Jesse Stein. He's a great guy. He'd be
okay, there you go.
And just, you know, for knowing the way the state law is, you know, because it used to be at a point, the commissioners would appoint one person and an alternate, so you had 10 people in the running. But according to the state law, it addresses code enforcement boards for jurisdictions of our size. We're limited to 5 appointees and 2 alternates. So we're really following the state law. So we went back, so whereas a full-time member is appointed by each one of you, and the alternates are appointed by the body, so. Did I get that right, Elizabeth?
Sounds good.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
There's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, going to call the roll. I did already. Oh, I asked for public comment.
I can't get up because I have a bad knee. I'd like to have a resolution of what I showed you tonight. Are you going to finish the project? Are you coming over to the house to look at it? Are you going to go along with what Catherine said? Those are three questions. And the town manager had mentioned something else to me, and never, I don't know if you want to come by and tell me what that is, but hurricane season's coming, I expect to have a resolution. If not, I guess you're going to hear from my attorney.
Well, I can only say this from the commission, from our commissioners, that we contracted Mr. Capper to do this work
For $70,000.
for $70,000, so I don't know what he's doing, but I think we better find out.
Are you happy with that, though?
I'm not, from what I saw in the pictures, I'm not happy,
No, I know.
so you shouldn't be
What I
either.
meant to say is, you can say it's coming down from the hill. Why are all those neighbors never complained about the water in their yard? So you realize what you've done. You're saying the swale is going to come down except for the one house where the doctors are, who has to go underneath the ground. They don't want it. Is that where all the water's coming from? Are you sure? Capper made the mistake. He did the drainage. Why are you still listening to him when he was the one that made the mistake? I didn't make it. You guys didn't make it.
That's a
So I
question.
would say, you know what, we need a second opinion, like a doctor.
That's a question we're going to have to ask
All right,
when
that's
Mr.
okay.
Capper comes back from wherever he is in
Since
Africa.
22, we're in 26 now.
Mayor, we do have a vote ready. Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell.
Yes,
Motion passes.
okay. All right, now we're going to go to the discussion part of the meeting, which we are going to talk about dewatering. And let's see. Frank, do you want to speak to this first? You want me to call the residents?
I'll be happy to speak to it first. Okay. Couple things. Let me make before I get to the dewatering, since this is under comments, or we moved it to the agenda. We moved it to the agenda, okay, so let me bring it up, all right? This issue is pretty disturbing for several reasons. North Sewell's Point Road was cut back, the stormwater retention area, without any plan to comply with the law. And it shouldn't have been done. I mean, you know, if it was going to get cut back, there should have been a game plan in terms of replacing the vegetation, dredging the area, and then rebuilding the riprap. And so I think that, you know, brought about is a serious lack of judgment. And when I asked the question, was there any money in the budget for this year, I was told, no, there's no money in the budget. Well, there is money out there. There's $107,000, as you're aware, Martin County approved, or the voters of Martin County approved another $500,000 for environmentally sensitive lands. That $107,000 could be used to mitigate this issue. And currently, it's sitting out there and we haven't done any, it hasn't been used for anything. Then the second issue is when, on March 23rd, when the contractor was pumping water into the intercoastal waterway, Mrs. Pierce responded, not Mr. Daniels. And she responded that the town heard of it the first thing that morning, and I had texted Mr. Daniels the night before to say that there was a problem. And and I didn't get a response. Mr. Daniels said he didn't get the text, and things do get lost in electronic neverland, but anyway, why was Mrs. Pierce sent to investigate as opposed to the town manager? Then on the issue that happened on the 4th of April, in the police report that was provided, because 2 officers were called, and the officers were told by Mr. Daniels that the contractor had a permit, and this was done without any investigation, and he was wrong. This contractor did not have a permit. The officer, or the 2 officers that were there, and one of them was here this evening, and the other officer was Officer Andrade, he spoke with the chief, and the chief asked him to specifically ask for documentation of any containment batteries that should be in place. He took pictures and he forwarded them, and not only to the chief, but also to the town manager. Nobody was given instructions to turn the pump off, which should have happened, because there were no containment barriers, and the permit specifically stated that there should be containment barriers. So I have some questions, and I gave these 10 questions to Mr. Daniels the other day, and I told him I'd be asking him at the meeting. Has the town attorney notified the contractors of their obligation to comply with the law? Has the town attorney notified the contractors of their obligation to be responsible for any remediation and fines? And after the first incident on the 23rd of March, was there any discussion at the contractors meeting, and they meet every 2 weeks, with Mr. Daniels about dumping in the IRL? Are minutes kept of these meetings? And if they are, do they reflect that there was a conversation along those lines? We're paying CapTech to monitor this project and monitor the contracts to make sure it's being done according to specs. And we're also paying Culpeper and Henning to monitor the monitor to make sure that stuff is getting done. It's a lot of money. I mean, you're looking at over $500,000 is going out the door being charged to these projects. So what's being done to ensure that CapTech's monitoring the contractors? What steps is Mr. Daniels instituting to monitor CapTech's performance? What testing is being done by the town of Sewell's Point of the lagoon? Where is the testing being performed? Where can the citizens obtain the results? Are they posted anywhere? And what remediation efforts is the contractor going to make? I sent out an email blast saying, are we walking the walk? I don't think we're walking the walk. We turned around and we denuded North Sewell's Point Road with no plan to fix it. We turned around and we put in 8 inches of concrete on the property that this town owns, or at least rather the right-of-way that the house that goes back to the house, with no permeable issue anywhere at all. And then we've had 2 situations to where people have been pumping into the Indian River Lagoon, people that are contracted to us, and we've allowed it to happen. Understand the first time. First time, yeah, okay, it's a problem. It's a mistake. You could chalk it up to that. But I'm not a big believer in coincidences.
Well, I want to ask about North Sewell's Point Road. I want to answer you on that. That belongs to the county.
No, the lot that
You're talking about the retention area,
I'm talking the retention area, belongs to the town of Sewell's Point, Vinnie.
the STA that we want to make an STA out of.
It is an STA.
Well, it's not an STA. An STA is 4 sides closed in. It's not an STA yet. It was bought as private property from the Thurlows and we just happened to make it a retention area at the time. The same thing that happened with the other piece of property we own.
Well, I don't know whether Mr. DeRosa is still here, but he stated that he worked with CapTech, to make sure that that was turned into an STA. He sent the state regs over to Mr. Daniels and to Joe Capra in terms of this is the way it needs to go back to what it was before because
Well,
it's an
it should go back to
STA.
the way it was before. It actually should go better. They should dig it down a little bit more. They should put more sides. It should go down better. I'm not disagreeing. Okay, but that's Martin County has a lot to do with that because it has to do with their sewer works that go into that.
We own a lot.
So we have to make sure that we have it all set, which is not.
But we own the lot, Vinnie.
We've owned a lot for 20 years.
Right, and we're responsible for it.
So, and they cleaned it out. That's it right now. Now we're told there's no more money in the pot for it, so.
There's $107,000 as a result of the half-cent sales tax that's coming to us, and it'll come to this town, and maybe not that amount, but for the next 10 years. We got it. It's in our budget. It's $107,000 called restricted funds.
Well, then
Not allocated elsewhere.
Nope.
we'll have to put it on the next agenda. Okay. Okay. Now I'll get public comments. Okay, I have Jack Watkins.
I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to stand here and just tell you, I love Sewell's Point. Can you hear me now? I bought a house here. I'm sorry?
Can you give your address to the
Oh,
record?
122 South Sewell's Point Road, Stewart,
Thank you,
Florida,
sir.
34996. I bought a house 14 years ago. I retired last June. I love this place. And I'll kind of skip through all that. But I came home, I forget the date, whatever it was, and I saw what they were pumping water into the lagoon, directly into the lagoon, right in front of my house. I have pictures, and it was terrible the way it looked. Now, people may say that goes away. You know, tide comes in, tide goes out, and everything's fine. But, you know, we really don't know that. There's manatee that live at my house. I've got probably 20 or 30 manatee out behind my house every day. And I hope, you know, whether they had a permit or not, I wasn't sure they did because, you know, they didn't have any kind of protective boundaries up there, nothing covering the grate. And it, to me, seemed odd that this was allowed to be happening. And it wasn't, I left and went, and I didn't see them set it up. And then when I got back, I saw that. I go, wow, this can't be crazy. This is crazy. And some of you probably have seen the pictures. Have you guys seen the pictures? It turned into a mud hole, you know, looking a terrible color. Now, granted, my house back there, we never have as clean water as out on the ocean, but it's always good, and you can see the manatees and all that stuff. So I just wondered, I'm more interested, did it hurt anything? Is anybody going to test it to see if it did? And listen, if it tests out fine and nothing's wrong, then no harm, no foul. But I agree that there is no way anybody that would be in the position like they are to pump directly into a basin. I mean, so I just want to see if you guys will kind of take a look at our area and come down there and take a look at it. I know Mr. Daniels out there, you've been out there, Mr. Titicus has been out there, and I think you guys saw it in a worse condition than it is right now, because it looks like it's cleaned up a little bit, but it was just, I was just surprised, and I just want to make sure we protect what we have, because it's really great where we are, so, you know, and beyond that, like I say, if they're allowed to do it, I don't know. I just know they weren't allowed to do what they were doing. And I don't know if anybody, has anybody tested that water at all?
Yes.
Do you have results?
I
Who's tested it?
Excuse me.
Okay, may I ask who's
Yes.
tested it?
I'll have that gentleman come up.
Okay. Well, that's all I'm saying. I'm not mad at anybody. I want to live here the rest of my life, but I don't want to see that kind of stuff. And listen, we've got a lot of great things happening. The improvements are going to be awesome when everything gets done. So that's just my thought.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Just, if I may, Mayor?
Who'd you like? Yeah.
Well, I think all of you have seen the report that I submitted to you, and there's another copy of it here. There were copies in the back. But I've worked with DEP and then with South Florida Water Management District on both incidents, and I was told by Mr. Vasquez from South Florida Water Management District, who basically DEP yielded their authority to the South Florida Water Management District, and he told me that the case was closed by their investigator, that they did take water samples and they were within the normal range. I do know on the first incident that we were involved, Franz Christensen, who is our inspector on that job, did take the readings from the first case, which involved pipeline utilities. And Franz, is there anything you can add as to those readings, if you don't mind sharing that?
Well, what we've done, since that first instance that was on in our site, we've went out there and put all the turbidity barriers out there that are required. We have now in 4 different locations. We are not discharging in 4 different locations, right? Currently, we're only discharging in 1, which is down by Mandalay, the STA down there. But what we do is what is required by permit, check the NTU numbers. So we have to have our background, and then we check the outfall itself. So right now, I checked it this morning, and we are pumping. We are pumping into one of the inlets, but the water going out is about 3 points, pretty close to 2 to 3 points higher than the background. So we're allowed, from the background, we're allowed 29 points. So whatever that background may be, it changes from day to day, week to week. But we still have the curtains up. And we also, the contractor's required to keep daily reports on any location that has an outfall. So we have those numbers every day. So we're checking ourselves every day. And that's part of the SWIFT program in order to document what we're doing. I mean, if you have any questions.
Mr. Fender.
Yeah, I'm interested. Is there a way to not do what you're doing? I mean, you just mentioned you're still pumping. I was expecting you to say that we had.
We are still pumping water out of, because we're putting in that baffle box that's on 2A.
If I may, let me just explain to you the process, okay? It's
Right.
called a dewatering process.
Okay.
So what happens is, before they excavate a hole, and you know from Oakwood, those holes can get pretty big, and we have to think of the safety of the crews that are going down into the holes. So they dewater it. So what happens is they pull the water out of the soil and they discharge it. They have to discharge it through a STA and a baffle box, and that's what's being done currently now. And they're doing the STA is down at Mandalay. What happened before is the contractor didn't realize there was an outfall line there, the first contractor in that incident, and he wasn't pumping it right into the river. He was pumping into one of our inlets, which took it to the outfall line, which took it to the river. And so it wasn't allowed that way, and the inspector that came out from DEP, I'm sorry, not DEP, from South Florida Water Management District, acknowledged that with the contractor, warned him, and required him to complete the project that they were on right there, is to use a turbidity screen at the pipe. And so then it was, I believe it was 2 days or so that they were using the turbidity screen, and then they moved down out of the area. They got that section set. The other incident that occurred, was Sunshine Land Design, and they're the ones that have the contract for Part 2 on the septic sewer and the water line. And they were working in front of Jack's house at 122, and on the Saturday of Easter Sunday. Now, in my memo, I spell it out, but just in case, you all have forgotten, Friday after our event that we had here in the park, I went down, instead of going home, I went down and I met with Franz and I met with Ben, who is the inspector for CapTech. Then they get involved with the water, Franz involved with the resiliency, and they get involved with the water line and the sewer. So I checked with both of them independently and was told that there wasn't activity that was going on for the weekend. So, so number one, they weren't authorized to doing the work on that Saturday, but they did. And they did, and we, as Commissioner Titigus mentioned at the meeting, I demanded to know who was the authority that said that they could do that and set it up. And the gentleman that was across the table from me said I was. And so I have his name down, and we will be issuing, DEP and South Florida Water Management District just did warnings on both of them.
I'm more interested in the future.
Right.
I mean, can we say that now, going forward, water's being pumped into the STA and filtered that way?
Yes.
Okay, so, the incidents happen, that's unfortunate, and I'm not happy about it, but we don't want it to happen again, right? So
Right.
we have a plan in place to make sure it does not?
And I think everybody's interested in, the environment, and, as we all are, and I'm taken aback by some of the comments that are made, because I think that's why we're doing this resiliency program and everything else, and the septic to sewer. And I know I spent countless hours working on this project, and we all knew that it was going to be tight to get this thing done with 5 different contractors and 7 contracts to, get this accomplished. We're on track, we can still do it, but they have to do it legally, and they realize that. I mean, there was no, excuse the expression, cop-out.
Well, not legally, thoughtfully, right?
Pardon me?
Mindfully and thoughtfully,
Yes,
without negative impact
right.
to the environment, right?
But I think, we were taken advantage of
Sure.
on the second incident, and we've addressed it. There's things that go into the body of water that we're talking about. It's really a lagoon next to the Indian River Lagoon, the way it's fed into Jack's property in that area, and it is really a preserve, and I agree with the manatees and everything else. So, but unfortunately, it's been, we've had impurities going into that body of water for a long period of time, and hopefully with the efforts of previous town commissions and this town commission, we're working towards putting a stop to all of that. This is just a setback that we have, and it's an unfortunate situation, but I can't overrule a state authority or a state agency, but I can issue a fine for what they're doing, and that's what I spelled out in that document that you have. So, do you have any other questions from Franz, or did you, something else you want to say, Franz?
Yes.
You say
Good.
that you monitor every day? They do, yes. And on the day that was pouring into there, did you monitor on that day? Well, they were working on Saturday. I don't have any control on that part of the project. But
No, it wasn't,
I can't
Jack, it wasn't.
because they don't have a dewatering permit.
It wasn't, Jack.
Right.
Because they were doing this unauthorized.
Every day, and unless have you seen the pictures? So whenever we're discharging water on our site, on our project.
He's not involved in the project on your site. It has nothing to do with what happened on the
Right.
But it's the same body of water that he's testing. Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll let him finish, and then I'm going to cross-examine him. How about that?
You're not going to cross-examine me.
The amount of
Sir.
misstatements he's made is just troubling. And I didn't even come here to talk about that. I want to talk about testing. We're not going to do anything to solve what happened.
All right, hang on.
I'm not talking about testing. But if you want to get the
Okay.
facts, because some of the stuff. that-
Yes.
Enough.
I can
Yes.
talk to you afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. On the record,
Okay.
just like this gentleman.
Well, I will be called, do you have you have a sheet in here?
Okay.
Then you'll be
You'll get a
called.
chance.
You'll be up here. Okay, you can yell at us then.
Okay, Franz, okay. Franz, the first thing I'm going to ask is, I'd like the commissioners to have a list of emergency contacts, should something like this happen again, where we could call somebody.
Yeah, the emergency contact is with Cheatham, and Bob also has my number, so that situation that happened on the other project, Bob called me out, and that was Easter Sunday. So, I mean, whenever there's something like that, even if it's on the weekends, you know, the two of us or three of us always have our phones on.
Well, the problem was that evening, I know Bob was 2 hours away. He wasn't getting immediate responses from anybody. And I think it would be nice to have cell phone numbers should something like this happen. Next time it could be something 10 times worse. And I was actually there when that happened. And all you saw, and I didn't know the severity of what was going on. All I saw was thick, brown, chocolatey colored water just gushing into this lagoon. And that's what you saw. You had no idea. And it smelled like heavy sulfur, rotten eggs. And it wasn't a good thing to see. I was panicking. I know the people that lived there. Yes, it was just, you know, there's no way this, and people are correct. It's not acceptable. And the problem was, at the time, there was nobody willing to say, I'm in charge, or what do you call if there's an emergency? And that's really what this came down to. I had nobody to call. Nobody knew how to shut the damn machine off. So it bothered me so much, that I got up at 6:30 in the morning. I turned those little red valves. I was able to close 13 of the 16. I didn't know if I'm going to go to jail for this, whatever, but I didn't care at that point. I just wanted to stop this brown flow, and that's what I did. The water came out to a trickle at that point. It came out clear, but there should be an emergency contact so the commissioners have somebody to call too. I want to know, we have a major project going on. We have over $20 million on the line out there, going all around here. So, you know, it's nice if the commissioners could keep an eye, that's what we're here for, is to make contact or decisions when there's an emergency. If the town manager wasn't available, he was 2 hours away. And to me, this was a real emergency at that time. And it would have really helped to have had a list of numbers, and we don't have that. I called Wes. Wes didn't know who was in charge of that at the time. We had the police call Bob. I got the message there. I called Joe Capra. I couldn't get a hold of him. I went through the list of anybody I could, but there's got to be somebody who knows how to run this machinery. And also, I'm going to make a suggestion. I've been watching for the past probably ever since I've been living here. Every time we have a heavy rain, all the septic tanks are covered up and down River Road, Palm Road, Kingston. And what happens then, those little outlets that are pipes that are going through Mr. Watkins' house, and it's covering the septic. So that's really sewer water that's happening. Is there any way you could put like a burlap cover or something to help filter this better? And this goes for all the outlets, because all we're doing is allowing, even though it's not going to be forever, it might be temporary, but for temporary isn't good enough. I would like to see some sort of filtration going over these, what we call outlets. Really, it's just a pipe going directly into the river. It's the express lane. When I first became a commissioner, I got a call from about half the neighborhood that was living on Riverview. And they go, you got to see this. And I came over, and all I saw was looked like a tornado funnel going into the drain. The drain goes into the river. And I'm looking at, it's literally scum coming from all the septics that are on that road at that time. So a lot of the septics were covered. And we need to do something that at least temporarily till this project's done to cover these outlets. That's what I'm going to ask for. And if we could do this, that would be a great help as well.
On our project, on all our inlets, all our structures, when we get done putting the top on, we put the fabric in them. And then we leave the fabric in there as a precaution to try to catch the sand and, whatever else is running across it. And every so often, we have to go out there and change that. We're making sure that we are checking that part. We're also making sure that when we pump the water, when the water flows to the river, it is going through the system as permitted by South Florida and DEP, and so that we can have clean water going out. And that's the reason why also we're checking the NTUs, which is a turbidity level in that discharge. And we have to check that every day. So it's documented every day. So the contractor has to go out there, and what I do is I go out and spot check it. So that makes sure that they're keeping their records accurate.
And going back
to... even though we have 4 outlets in our phase, we have curtains on all 4 outlets. Right now, we're only using 1. So, but that's the one that's down at the STA down at Mandalay.
Okay, and is it possible, I'm going to go back to the original question, that the commissioners will have access to emergency contacts?
I'll make sure we have that.
So you would just want to make sure that the commission understands, when you're saying you're doing NTU testing, that's simply for turbidity.
Correct, turbidity.
It has nothing to do with checking the river for environmental hazards.
Right, we don't do that.
Okay, thank you.
Or the sediment, or the sediment.
Or the sediment. You're literally testing the groundwater that's coming out of the pipe.
Nobody can hear what they're.
Yeah, I'm a...
No, but
Enough,
people can't,
you can't
people
do
who are
it.
listening
You
to the
can
meeting
talk to them
can't hear.
afterwards.
People that are,
I want you to hear his answer because you don't understand the facts, what he's saying.
Yes, we check for turbidity, because
Yes.
that's what's required by the permit. There's nothing else required by the permit. They have a dewatering permit to do this work. And unfortunately, they do have to dewater, not just for safety, but because if they didn't, you wouldn't be able to compact the soils back, and you'd be rebuilding the road in another 4 or 5 years. So it has to be done, and it's done on every job. They have a dewatering permit, and the dewatering permit requires certain things. And the only testing that's required is turbidity testing, which is what they do. That's all that's required by the permit.
Can you read what the permit requires?
I don't have the permit with me,
Can
but
we
we
just
can offer it up.
It requires you to pump everything down to the station?
To an SDA? Yeah.
And the level box.
Correct.
Happens and done.
Right.
That's
They
all.
were not allowed to do that.
Okay, thank you.
They were not allowed.
We don't want a debate here. Just tell them the facts.
That's what I'm doing.
That's exactly that's what we need.
They got caught doing that.
Well, then why you keep asking?
They got shut down.
That's a minority.
Because the town manager said to this commission that they're testing every day as if that meant something.
Turbidity testing for the permit.
Relevant to whether the water was hazardous or not, and it isn't, it's just turbidity testing, which means.
yeah, nobody can hear.
Okay, let's moving along. Mr. Strick, now you can come up and you got 3 minutes.
We do care.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to get into the whole what happened thing, but when you have somebody continually repeating false information and the town not digging into the details, it's troublesome. It really should be troublesome to you as commissioners. So, as this nice gentleman said, the permit doesn't allow, we all agree what happened on March 23rd was not allowed. It was totally illegal, and it dumped a massive plume of mud into the river, right? By my estimates, looking at the equipment that they used, on the 2 dates in question that they was pumping, somewhere between 3 million and 5 million gallons of putrid, brown, smelly water went into the canal. That's what happened here, okay? And nobody's talking about that. We're arguing about other things, but not about that. Now, this nice gentleman, I saw him, because I could see him from my thing, doing a turbidity test. It's simply like taking a glass box and dumping it in the water. But he wasn't doing it from the river. He was doing it from a different location, from where they were pumping 2 days later. That was not the location that they pumped, and I sent pictures around of the site that they pumped from, and it was full of black, disgusting muck that was 3 feet deep. It was disgusting. That's what we're talking about here. So, and the last point is that I want to make just on the testing thing, and then, I mean, non-testing thing, and then I will get to actually what I wanted to speak about today. But just to say that, oh, and this gentleman's right. They're supposed to cover all of the, and you were right as well, the stormwater drains, right? When you're working in a construction area, you cover stormwater drains, particularly stormwater drains that, like ours, that have a sign, no dumping. You've all seen them. Well, the gentleman said that all the storm drains were covered. That's not true. I had to call the South Florida Water Management System again after we had the March 23rd incident, the April 4th pumping, both pumpings. I had to call the Guy Busclair at the South Florida Water Management System again, because I just happened to be walking my dog. I live right there. I walk down South Sewell Point Road. The overwhelming majority of stormwater drains in an active construction zone had no silt fences, had no filter fabric. These are basic things that anybody who's lived in Florida sees every day on a construction zone. You see them on all the houses being built. So to come in here and say today, oh, they're all covered all the time, it's just not accurate. I can show you a picture. This is from 2 days ago. Here's another one, 2 days ago. Here's another one, 2 days ago. Now they're all covered because Guy said he called the guys to the carpet. So hopefully, and I walked around again, and they were all covered, which is great. But that's not what I wanted to come and talk to you. I'm sorry, Danielle, if you want to speak about something, but I want to get to testing.
So I think everyone's missing the point that day there was parts per million of hydrogen sulfide so high that if you were 30 feet within it, you could just smell it. I mean, it was hazardous. And that's what was going into the canal. That is the concern. So the sediment needs to be tested. You tested the water, well, that's okay, but you need to test the sediment. That's where the hydrogen sulfide is. It's at the bottom. It's in the sediment. So that's what's hazardous, and that needs to be tested. You need an environmental consultant. You need a marine biologist out there to assess, to see actually what transpired, what happened. How much damage is there? What's going to happen to those manatees and the other marine life there? That's it.
Let me,
So to finish what I was originally going to say. So I won't get through all the other stuff, but I will say, a couple things. If the commission's truly interested in ensuring things like this don't happen again, then the town, I think, can and should do a full separate meeting with the commission, with all the crew that were there, or at least Joe Capra, whoever the project managers are, and the community, and let's do a full review, a full autopsy, because we have how many more projects are going to go on these roads, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. But what I am here to talk about, or what I came today to talk about, and what I'm really trying to understand, is why, after more than 3 weeks, the town staff and this commission have done nothing to independently test the river, to determine whether any harm was actually done by this illegal dumping. To be clear, as I said before, no government agency or third party has conducted any environmental testing of the river or the muddy, smelly groundwater that went into it. Any suggestions otherwise are 100% false. If you hire a contractor to paint your house and the contractor spills paint in your pool, you're going to go call your pool company right away to clean it up before it damages all the plumbing, and you're going to get the contractor who's at fault to pay for it. This situation is no different. It really isn't. The town has every legal right to engage an independent third-party expert to conduct environmental testing on the river and withhold payment from the contractors and consultants who are at fault. You don't need me to tell you that. It's common sense. But if you doubt me, you got a town attorney sitting right there. She can give you that advice. And if you don't like her hourly rates, no offense, you can call me. I'll give you legal advice for free. Looking at the spec sheets on the pump, I think I already mentioned this, that the amount of water again, I'm not an expert at this, but you can do simple math if you look at the specs on this. You're talking 3 million to 5 million gallons of water in just that short period of time went into the river. That was muddy and brown, and as my colleague, my neighbor who has 38 years of environmental testing experience says, was extremely hazardous. She had to walk away from Jack's site. She came down from her house, and within 15 minutes, the police wanted to talk to her. She's like, I can't stay here. It smells that bad, and it's toxic. The thing that you have to remember is where this water came from. It's a little bit different than the location that you tested from, which was 2 days later, further down the street. That's the other point I want to make clear. These are different locations. This was on the side swales of the roadway, which are known It's the busiest roadway on our street. Roadways are known to be one of the highest levels of toxic areas anywhere in a city. Why? Because you have cars going down, you have gas spills, you have exhaust fumes, you have asphalt, you have tires, all of those things. So again, why aren't we testing? Why aren't we talking about testing? Why aren't we doing something? Someone said, the only thing I've heard is, well.
Well, you've had your 3 minutes at this point in time.
Sure.
And I let you go over even a little bit, but thank you. Okay. Mr. Ralph Parks? Sorry you did.
Do every one of you went to some course in masochism? Do you enjoy this?
I will right after this meeting, I'll tell you.
My name is Ralph Parks. I live in Archipelago. We shouldn't be here tonight. You've hired people to oversee this, and you spend a lot of our money, and they're not doing their job. You need to call them on the carpet and get this straight. We shouldn't be here. And you paid for this to be taken care of. And it's not happening. So you get to listen to all of us when you had it in your hand from day one. Utilize it.
Okay, any further, Frank?
Is that all?
I'm not sure I'm supposed to do that. I mean, I will comment, but.
Oh,
Are we,
yeah.
did you go through all the public comments?
Yeah, I went through the public comments. We're done with that.
If I may, because I did have a chance to talk to Ken today, and I understand, he did enlighten me, there's different testing, which, I was following the lead of the governmental agencies, and there are different testings. And I did ask Gary Jones, who's from CapTech, and he's involved with some of the testing, to give you an idea of what's required. So can you entertain Gary coming up for a moment?
Sure.
And he's overseeing Joe's responsibilities, so.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. I'm not an expert on what's required for monitoring in the river, but however, on Phase 1, the first project that was done down from Henry Sewell's into High Point, or to High Point, at the completion of the project, as part of the permit requirements, we had to monitor for a year. You saw the stations, I had them out there on the side of the road. We collected both the outfalls and we collected at structures for the inflow. Those sampling units would sample every week, and I would go out, pull those samples, I would take them, send them to Flowers Lab, I think it's Euroflora now, but it was Flowers Lab, out of tradition. It would pull basically for nitrates, nitrites, phosphorus, total suspended solids, oil and grease, and something else I'm missing, ammonia. So those items basically for a set of, so I had it 4 times, but those tests for Flowers just to run the test was about $150 for each location. So I had 4 of those stations at $150. They were done every 2 weeks for almost a year. I had requirements that I had to meet 10 qualifying events, 5 in the rainy season and 5 in the dry season, where a qualifying event was qualified as more than 0.2 inches of rain, but less than 1.5 inches of rain. So really small window for Florida, because most of our events are 2 or 3 inches at a pop. So every one of those, basically, they just do a flush. So they don't consider your improvements or doing what they're supposed to do, because it's over what they are handled for. So yes, you can do all those testing. So Flowers is $150 for those 7 tests times 4. And then you also have to have account for the person going out and taking the test, pulling the samples, running them out to the lab, and come back to whatever that time at it.
Just give me an idea of what.
I'm on salary, so it really didn't matter. So, those tests can be done. Now,
In all fairness, what you have to have, and this is the problem with getting the sample of the sediment in the basin now, is you have to have a background to start from, to be able to show after there's an event, or if there's an event, that has been made worse. So if you don't have a background, you just go out there. I'm first to know. I mean, any of the water in there, believe me, I stopped and put in a couple dock posts and stuff. You step into it and it's stinky black muck, up to your waist. So, I mean, there's soils out there over the years that have been in there. So you would have to have a background. Like the gentleman said earlier, oils from the car are on the road. Every time it rains, flushes into the swales. The swales, hopefully, the grass, that's why we have the grass and the plants in there, will clean some of that stuff. That's why we're putting baffle boxes in there with filters in the end of them to catch these impurities before they get into the lagoon. I moved here in '85 because I love to fish and dive, so the last thing I want to do or see is turbid water going in the water. But as far as, just to clear up a couple other areas, the first incident was on the Cheatham job, and that was the CNT job. CapTech is running all the other jobs because they're not federally funded. Our contractor, our inspector, my inspector, Ben Baumier, was out on the job Friday. He was told they were going to be doing no work. They have approval to work on Saturday if they have the proper superintendent, project manager, not a little foreman, and they're approved to install the services and make the connections. They're doing all those bores, and each one of those bores have to be connected. So they kind of do them. They're out of the road. They're not making any impacts to the traffic. They're allowed to do that on work. They came in on Saturday, didn't tell anybody. Our inspector wasn't notified, so he was not there. I was offshore, so that's why I didn't answer the phone. I mean, it's one of those events. It's very unfortunate. I'll be the first to say that. But I also know that most of you all have kids. How many times you tell them not to do something, and as soon as you turn around, they do it. It's kind of one of those things. These contractors are our kids. You got to watch them like a hawk. They've all been told what the requirements are. Sunshine, the contractor that did it on Easter weekend, they do not have a dewatering permit. They have a 10-2 permit for that job. Basically, it says they have to retain everything on site. So either in the swales, in a detention basin, or what they have been doing a lot is using their vac truck to suck the water out so they can keep it dry while they make the connection to the utilities. They have a site down off of Cove Road. They rent property where they put their clippings from landscaping, as well as any soils that they dump, and they have a attainment basin where they decant the water. So that big vac truck that we use every year for cleaning all the inlets, when you go in through it, you can dump all the water off into a basin, let it perk through the ground, and then you can, after the tank's empty, you dump it like a dump truck, and all the soil that would remain. That's what we capture and measure every year to make sure we have our MS4 permits for meeting those requirements. So as far as the water, though, that's as much as I know. I don't know what soils you would, or what test you would specifically run to verify, if there's any environmental damage. So.
Thank you, Barry. Do you have any questions of Mr. Jones? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Okay.
So I guess to sum this up, if you want me to go further with getting prices and contracts and going through the procurement process to do that, and then that way, if nothing else, we have a base, as they said, the background information to do. But whatever direction I get from this commission, I will fulfill.
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. First of all, I want to say that what happened was bad for the environment. It was embarrassing for the town. It was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. All those things. And I genuinely appreciate all the residents being the eyes and ears, speaking out, doing your part to take care of the town, letting us know when we need to have our feet held to the fire. I genuinely appreciate that. I spoke to our town manager, I spoke to our engineer after it. I genuinely believe there will be positive improvements. I think there already are. More oversight, and I believe all parties involved are going to work hard to make sure it doesn't happen again. I think Commissioner Fender said this. I'm most interested in fixing any problems and making sure it doesn't happen again and moving forward. Town manager, I think you're just commenting about testing. Is that what you were just saying?
Yes.
Yes, I'm open to that. I know nothing about water testing and that kind, so that's obviously a different realm of person, but I'm open to that. If there even could be any remediation, again, I'm an accountant. This is totally out of my area, but I'm open to that, from the town's perspective. I'm not interested in rehashing with the contractors and it just encourages bad blood. But I did want to, and this is because I believe in transparency, and this is the only time we get to talk, I did have a question for Commissioner Titicus, because I think, you put out your newsletter, and I think it's important to be transparent and share that this happened. You could, I guess my question is, you could have said illegal violations in Sewell's Point project, but I genuinely, I think about this on my own at night. I read your email, your town newsletter, is Town of Sewell's Point walking the walk. I mean, you even said it. And then you said, does the town of Sewell's Point really care about the water quality of the Indian River? Recent events raise a doubt in my mind. My father's advice was to listen to what a man says, but more importantly, watch what he does. I took personal offense because I'm part of the town. I'm a commissioner. And so you're talking to me. So I guess my question is, I've really thought about this. You could relay the information. You could be an advocate for without, in my opinion, because I know I had a visceral reaction when I read that because I care. Why do you want to make the town look bad? I genuinely think about this. There's, I know I'm asking commissioner to commissioner.
That's enough.
This is where we have to talk. This is where we have to talk because we don't talk on the side. Because I am part of the town. And so I felt hurt that this is what you're going to put out and you let the whole world read it. And I think we all bust our butts trying our best. And so I ask you as a commissioner, what is the main goal? Not in telling people the bad thing that happened, because it was bad. Like I said, it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed. But why do you paint it with a brush to make us all look like we don't care about the environment?
Because I have a real question as to whether we do. Particularly, and I think the one gentleman that was up here, Mr. Parks, he said that we pay a lot of money to a lot of people to make sure that this doesn't happen. Take the first time. I'll buy. It's a mistake. They screwed up. They violated the permit. They should have had the turbidity barriers up and all that kind of stuff. But then, we're paying our town manager a lot of money. We're paying CapTech a lot of money. We're paying Culpeper and Henry a lot of money to make sure that the specifications for the construction of this project are being followed. And what I put out there was emails, the very beginning of it was my opinion. And my opinion is we're not walking the walk. We turn around and we say, we want to, we want water to be absorbed by the ground. And then we put in an 8-inch concrete driveway. We turn around and we say that we're interested, and I'll debate with you, Vinny, as to whether it's an STA, but that we have that we're interested in cleaning the water before it goes into the lagoon, and then we go in and we tell Serafino to go in and cut everything back with no plan to fix it. That's wrong. And I'm sorry you feel bad about it, but I'm hoping you feel bad about it, and I'm hoping that we demand that there be some change.
I can appreciate those thoughts. It's just, to me, it's a different style of leadership. There are problems all over the place in my life, in the town, And so I try my best to encourage teamwork, encourage people to get along, fix mistakes. So I think it's just a different style.
You want me to sweep it under the rug? Is that what you're suggesting? Is it going to be in the Town Connection newsletter? I don't think so.
I will say this, it's just, and I've had to get this off my chest. I'm just being honest here. This is where we talk. It feels like, you know, the only analogy I could come up with is like we have a restaurant, we're running a restaurant, and you have the business partners, and then you have the patrons, and you kind of come in and act like a restaurant critic, and then write your critique, your scathing critique, as opposed to like, hey, the food was terrible. We really messed up, team. How can we make it better? I had to get that off my chest.
Bravo. Just vote to test the water. Do that.
I did say I was open to testing the water.
Why is it wrong with you that you won't test the water in the sediment?
I just
Put that in your newsletter that you took from us.
That's enough. I gave you some leeway.
Let me try that again. Grab my phone. Bravo! Frank, you got a problem with Bob. It's obvious. The entire town knows it. So do something about this. Please.
He's only got 2 votes, that's the problem. You need 3. Test the water, come on, people, everybody came out.
I believe I said I was open to testing the water. Maybe we could have it on the next agenda.
Nobody's saying we're not going to test the water.
We're not done with their comments here.
Okay, well,
Well, before you move, just for everybody, what I brought up, and my intention is to come back, hopefully by the next meeting, and have a plan. Because I'm getting that drift from my bosses that are here, that, you know, we want to go out and come into a testing program. Obviously, you can't commit to it till you know what the program is, and I have to find out what that program is going to be, and I'll report it back to you. So to get upset at the commission, they're taking the strides to get the problem resolved.
Want someone independent. Shouldn't take a month to set up.
Excuse me.
wait.
Okay? You're in a meeting.
Please hold it.
You don't have to excuse me, you just have to be quiet.
You know, you can't keep this up, because you just can't. All right. Is
That it is.
there anything else on dewatering?
Thanks, Rob.
Is there anything else on dewatering?
Yeah,
I've
I
got
was
some-
going to actually make a couple comments.
Go ahead, Mr. Fender.
So, most folks have left already. I've waited for all the comments to be said. I have to say that nobody is more in favor of the environment than I am. I've been working on this commission for 12 years, doing nothing but environmental activities. But it feels like what's being missed in this conversation is why we're doing this project to begin with. What started this project was testing. We tested the water. We lived through the lost summer of 2016. We realized that we all had septic tanks in our yards, and the water was being pumped from Okeechobee into the waterway. Everything that we're doing here, the projects that you see going up and down the peninsula right now, which is, the result of this conversation, is based on the fact that we are trying to improve the environment. It's almost like there's a big picture that is missed in the conversations that we're having tonight. Because testing is done. Testing will continue to be done. We want the waterway to be healthy. I remember when seagrasses grew fervently in the lagoon. And so this incident that occurred, tragic. It makes me upset. But I don't think it needs to be looked at in the small picture. It needs to be looked in the big picture, because 5 years from now, when all the septic tanks are gone, when we're pumping water properly through STAs, we're not dumping it into the lagoon, the water quality increases significantly around the peninsula. I mean, that's really what we've been spending all of this money on for this entire time. So I feel like some of that's getting lost. And we can test it, we should test it, but we have tested in the past. We've been testing it for a decade, and I think we'll test it 5 years from now when this one incident settles out and all the septic tanks are gone. What do you think happens on this peninsula every time we have a massive rainstorm? I mean, this incident was bad because they were working on a specific construction site, but every time rain comes down in torrential downpours, we pick up all the groundwater, we pick up the stuff off of the streets, we take our septic tanks and we dump them all into the estuary. So I'm frustrated, and I'm frustrated with that over 2 decades, not over the last 2 months of us actually trying to fix the problem, but the fact that we are trying to fix the problem with the activity that's going on, and it will get better. So, I mean, I hope you don't believe that this commission or we're all just residents on this town that want to make it better, that we're not fully engaged in the process of enhancing our environment. You know, we don't do this for fun. We really want the town to be a better place. And I believe it will be, despite the frustration. You know, I absolutely empathize and agree with the frustration of this particular incident, but this incident will pass, and when it does pass, the overall environment has to be better long-term. We can test it. I mean, I just don't see what end, if you get your test results tomorrow for whatever happened now, where you go with that. I mean, we do have to finish the project. We have to make the place better.
I agree with you, but I will tell you this. I don't think there's been testing. All this stuff has been draining down this hill for a long, long time, so.
For how long?
Well, as long as that drain's been there, from stuff coming down the hill.
2 decades?
I'm sorry?
2 decades?
I don't,
Yeah.
I can only say.
I mean, I'm focused on, what I've been hearing is something happened a month ago, right?
I just think if you just test it and see it, take a base, but I don't think that'll be the same. I think there's other stuff in there.
But you do realize that they publish in the paper water quality testing.
Not at my house in my living.
No, we can,
Not at my house. Because
but I'm saying that on both sides of the
Okay,
North and
okay.
South Fork and up and down the waterway, every time I look in the paper, I look at this testing result for water quality. And we can go, yeah, absolutely, we should test in your,
But it's under where it drains under my boat and everything like that.
Sir, you could talk to Mr. Fender after the meeting.
I will do that. I'd love to talk.
yeah, sure.
Great. Okay, you can keep going.
Well,
You done? Okay.
I mean, I think the point is made.
I agree with the big picture that it's all being better.
Yeah.
But I just say, let's
Mr. Kurzman,
Yes, I think we should tonight make that decision that we are going to commit to testing, specifically the lagoon by the Watkins house. I think that's important because that pipe is, like I say, it's been exposed for so many years, and it is the reason we did the project. And believe it or not, we went to the commission to get those extra grinders that would cover that, all those. And there were 2 county commissioners that voted no. One more county commissioner, the project would have been dead. And then we had another resident that went before the commission, after we already approved and we committed to all the money, they went there saying we don't need it. Once again, 3-2 vote. 1 vote more, we'd be out probably anywhere from $10 to $15 million. And that means that we'd have to pay for it out of our tax money. You know, some people just don't think, you know, it's disgusting, but that's the reason why we got that. If you were watching this, once again, I'll say, before this whole thing happened, we used to watch the flood water, which would cover the septic, cover all the debris and the garbage in the front, whatever else went in, and it went right into those drains, into the river. But sometimes the drains got so clogged up from all the debris going in, the water would back up and it would trickle in slower, but that's how severe this was at this time, and that's why we...
I think we're on the right track. We got to.
Yeah. I am for doing the...
want to speak to Mr. Kurzman, speak to him after the meeting.
Yeah, but we do need to make a decision tonight, I think, because that lagoon does not have the current. When you see the water coming in and out, the lagoon's more stagnant. That particular part, you'd have to see it to understand, which I have seen it. And the only way it's going to be flushed is really, I'd like to see the test, and the only time it really gets flushed out is when we have a real heavy storm or something and the water gets very rough, it'll come in and out. But other than that, it's not getting much of a flush, and it does sit there. And you could see the sediment, because I know it just builds and builds and builds. Every time it comes out of the pipe, it's right beneath the pipe, and I would like to get that tested, what's in that lagoon. And I think it should be charged back to the vendor that made the mistake of all the testing at this point.
Slow down the process.
Mr. Titigus,
Well, and that brings us back to, and I agree with you, Commissioner Kurzman, that we ought to do the testing, and that if there is damage to the lagoon, it should be charged back to the contractor, and this means that the town attorney needs to notify the contractors of their obligation to comply with the law and to be responsible for any remediation of the damage that they've done.
it's going to be tough getting a contractor to work here pretty soon.
Without detriment to the project that we actually have to.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. I'm interested in fixing the problem. I'm interested in making sure it doesn't happen again. I'm not interested in seeking I don't want to involve the contractors. It's our problem, it's our town, they come to us. If we think it's important, then we will pay for what we will consider whether we will pay for it. If they, I assume, based on our staff, if the contractors are following their contract and doing what they're supposed to, I'm not interested in escalating it to the detriment of the projects.
Town manager.
I'm going to take a direction, at this point, I just need to know if you want to do the testing, and I'd prefer having a motion made and passed by the commission, or if you want to wait till I get you all the information for the next meeting. But, but again, that gives you a baseline. It gives you the background. You can't go on and have testimony for, as I heard both from residents and from the commission, is that this has gone on for years and years and decades of, stuff going into the river. So the bottom line is you can't hold contractors liable for decades and decades of a problem. So, but whatever you all direct to be done, we will do.
Testing's good, but we just need to know what testing means and what the budget.
And that's what I want
Let's get some
to come back to
information
you.
on that.
Right.
Let's come back at the next meeting with the information about testing.
That sounds fair.
And once we get all the information that we need, then we'll make a decision on whether we can go forward with it. Not that we don't want to, not that we won't, because we just feel we're doing, if we can,
Right.
okay? It's
I
all
will
about.
do that.
Okay. Mr. Titigus.
Yeah, I would suggest that you consult with Mrs. Roberts, Danielle Roberts, that got up here and spoke, because apparently she's had experience in environmental testing. So at least solicit. We've got a lot of people in this town with a lot of talent. Let's use it, I mean, why not?
Mayor, one quick thing to add to that.
Vice Mayor.
I did speak to Ms. Roberts about this topic, and she said that we would need to hire an environmental consultant and/or maybe a marine biologist. I actually know some marine biologists, so I can put you in touch with them, but that was what she told me, as opposed to her doing it herself, which I thought maybe she was going to, but I get that.
Okay.
We
Okay.
do actually have the baseline of the testing that we had a PhD come in here to give us a full report on the health of the lagoon when we started this project 10 years ago. I mean, Dr. LaPointe, is that who it was?
Yeah, we had two of them in.
Yeah, we had a couple of, we did a ton of testing, that's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, we had two.
Yeah, and there's actual deep research on this topic.
Okay.
You got Vinnie?
Diane Kimes.
Diane Kimes, 2 Riverview Drive. I wanted to recommend that the town manager reach out to Vince Ecomio at the Martin County Extension. He's a hydrologist. He has been in the area. He is an expert, and it would be a great place to start before you hire someone. He's worked for Florida Oceanographic. So that's my recommendation.
What's the last name, Diane?
It's Encomio, E-N-C-O-M-I-O. He's at the Martin County Extension, and I actually will be at the Extension office tomorrow morning, and I will give him your card
Okay.
so
Great,
that
thank
you both can connect.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
Before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm under commission and staff closing comments. One of the citizens got up and asked, what's the expectation of town staff to respond to residents' comments? We've all, and the commissioners, we've all gotten emails from an organization that has I guess, an app that can go on the website, that if people turn around and make a request, it indicates, what department it's being forwarded to, the time that it came in, the response that's being given. And I discussed this with Mr. Daniels a while back. I would suggest that we have them come in at a commission meeting and do a presentation and consider putting something like that on our website because it would increase the transparency.
I'm going to answer your question. We have somebody coming in. I'm going to put it on the agenda on the 28th,
Okay.
and it's for free, so
Yeah,
that's even better.
I like free.
Okay.
It's about the same thing, Benny?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it goes even further than that, so. All right, are there any staff closing comments?
No, sir.
No? Yes, no? All right, so.
Hold on.
There's,
Arbor Day?
Oh, yes, thank you. We are celebrating Arbor Day.
Oh.
Obviously, we are a tree city, environment, different side of it. But I believe it's the 25th is the date, am I correct?
Friday, the 24th.
24th. We're doing a tree giveaway, drive-through as folks come home from 4 to 6, whatever amount of the trees that we have left. So we'll be over in Town Commons Park. You can drive in and drive out. And they'll have instructions on how to plant the trees. And we do have one of our residents, Mr. Claus, who is in South Sewell's Point Road, and he has been very useful to us acquiring the trees and helping us get this set up.
okay, Mr. Fender.
Awesome. Just on that same topic. When we made the plan to do the canopy area, which I see we now have released the barriers on, there was also a plan to plant additional trees in that space.
Yes, there were some plants that were made. Unfortunately, a lot of those trees are on private property.
Yeah.
And so they were resistant to planting another tree. But I still have to talk with Mr. Capra and Mr. Flaw and just see what we can still do to spruce it up within our right-of-way.
I mean, we did a whole bunch of studies on the trees that we were going to plant.
Oh, believe me.
So I'm still
Yeah.
a proponent of seeing some of those trees put back to try to maintain
I
the
agree.
canopy. Yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn? We have a second?
Second.
Adjourn. Okay.